Chapter 1662. Chasing to kill nihility. If the sword turns to nothing, then the human being can turn to nothing as well. I need the nihility sword scriptures, whispered Emperor Tai Jian. He knew that Emperor Wu Tianjian had already realized that Sword Mountain was looking for him. Emperor Tai Jian flew towards central Bahuang. He was going to have some fun there. Back in Goldfire Tower, the professor in golden-purple clothes went to Lin Feng's room. He entered his room just as Lin Feng finished carving a talisman. Then Lin Feng walked up to the professor. "Master, are we leaving now?" "Indeed. Everything is ready. If you're still busy though, you can leave later," said the professor smiling. "Master, that would be an exaggeration. How could I postpone? I have nothing left to prepare. We can leave," said Lin Feng. "I came myself because I want to go too," said the professor. Lin Feng was surprised. The level 9 professor wanted to go to the vast celestial ancient city too? It seemed that the person they wanted to see had a terrifying background. Perhaps he was a great emperor? "You can bring your 2 friends too," said the professor. Meng Qing and Qiuyu Xian were now standing next to Lin Feng, wearing the same clothes and plaited bamboo hats. Even though they looked mysterious, nobody asked them anything in Goldfire Tower. "Lin Feng," said Mulin Shui. Lin Feng looked at her. She was wearing a sexy light blue dress, looking very attractive. She was smiling in a gentle way. "I'll see you off." Indeed. Lin Feng nodded and they left. More than 20 people left together. Hen Chong Tian was in the group, as well as a few middle-aged people whose cultivation levels were enigmatic. The leader of the group was the level 9 professor, the professor in the golden-purple clothes. The group left Goldfire Tower and rose up in the air. Lin Feng smiled at Mu Lin Shui and said, "Lin Shui, you can go back. Say goodbye to Uncle Muyi from me." "I'll tell my father, but I want to see you off. I'll go back after we exit Goldfire City," said Mu Lin Shui, shaking her head. Lin Feng didn't want to argue, so he agreed. There was a boat waiting for them in the distance. The group got on the boat and then quickly disappeared. "How fast?" thought some nearby people. That boat was extremely fast. It must have been a level 7 or higher imperial weapon. In the distance, the young man was watching and was surprised. Wasn't the group who were going to the vast celestial ancient city supposed to be composed of only a few young people? There were high-level emperors in that group, so he didn't think about it too much. Marks appearing under his feet. He immediately flew into the distance. Lin Feng and the others arrived at the periphery of the city, where Mu Lin Shui jumped off the boat and left. Whoosh! A strong wind started blew above here. Mu Lin Shui was surprised. She raised her head and saw some remnant holy marks which were leading to the boat. Who was that? Thought Mu Lin Shui. On the boat, everyone was seated. Although they were extremely fast, the vast celestial ancient city was extremely far away, so it would take time. With that time, they wanted to practice cultivation. The professor in the golden-purple robe had a strange feeling. He sensed that the chi from the boat was stiff, but because they were moving so fast, it was difficult to have a clear perception. "Faster," said the professor, and then the boat accelerated. It was even scarier as it cut the sky in two like a sword. After the boat accelerated, the professor looked back again. "The chi is getting more intense," thought the professor. He was sure someone was chasing them, and that person had started chasing them since they first left the city. Even though strength is one of the most important things, imperial weapons can still be very useful. If I had such a boat, I would be safe in most cases, thought Lin Feng. "Master, did anything happen?" asked Lin Feng. "A strong cultivator is chasing us," said the professor, frowning. "How strong are they?" Lin Feng asked. "They're not any slower than our boat, which means that they're terrifying," said the professor. "Are they a great emperor?" asked Lin Feng. "Top of the Huangqi layer. And he's chasing us even though he's alone, which means that he's very confident," said the professor, accelerating again. Indeed, the young man was a cultivator at the very top of the Huangqi layer. He had been sent by the Everlasting Palace, and he was hoping to capture Lin Feng. Even though they didn't say it clearly, he could guess why they had sent him, and not a great emperor. Great emperors were difficult to deal with, so if they found Lin Feng, They might leave with him and never go back to the everlasting palace. That boat is so fast, thought the young man. Dong! The young man continued to follow, pulling out a scroll to move faster. The young man shouted, "Everybody from Goldfire Tower, please stop. I have nothing against you." Deployment lights. He might be from the everlasting palace. It's not that easy to catch up with us, said the professor in a cold way. He didn't intend to stop. If he catches up, you escape, and I'll deal with him for as long as I can, said the professor. He didn't know anything about the person who was chasing them, but he might be able to hold out. The young man continued chasing them for a while, but he couldn't catch up with them, which annoyed him. I promise that I just want Lin Feng. I'm not interested in anyone from Goldfire Tower, said the young man loudly. Chapter 1663. Ancient clan Lin Feng shivered. He was right. They had come for him. Lin Feng was sure that it was someone from the everlasting palace. I thought they wouldn't come because Xixiang City was so far away from Goldfire City, but I was wrong, thought Lin Feng. What he didn't know was that without Sword Mountain, the young man couldn't have found him, but it was too late now. Lin Feng's only hope was for the professor to protect him. If he gave up Lin Feng, then Lin Feng wouldn't have a chance. But even if he was caught, he knew that since he had the everlasting Celestial Emperor's deployment spells, they wouldn't kill him. As expected, after their group heard that, they all turned to Lin Feng, Meng Qing and Qiu Yuxian. They had different opinions, but the professor in the golden-purple clothes had to decide. The professor's eyes twinkled as he thought. Time passed quickly, but he didn't look worried. Lin Feng is our guest of honor, and we won't let him down. If he gave up Lin Feng, everything he had done for him would have been useless. If Lin Feng left, then it would be a different story. The young man groaned as he accelerated. They continued flying above mountains and fields. Sometimes, the people on the ground saw them and were amazed by their speed. Far from Lin Feng and the others, there was a desolate mountain range where the sun seemed to loom just above it. However, at that moment, darkness was invading the area. The darkness seemed gloomy, like an ancient grave opening. A coffin was slowly starting to break apart, unveiling a dark shadow. With it, a terrifying qi rose to the skies, and ancient strength invaded the sky. Somewhere nearby, a strong cultivator was practicing cultivation in a cave. However, he suddenly opened his eyes and left the cave, just in time to see a terrifying darkness fill the entire mountain range. That's world strength. He was a medium-level emperor, so he understood that strength. After having broken through to the Huangqi layer, cultivators' perceptions were even more acute. They could create small worlds, and the stronger they were in terms of cultivation, the more stable their small worlds were. Of course, it didn't mean that the bigger a small world was, the better it was. If a cultivator's abilities were not high enough, his small world could be destroyed easily, which would make all their efforts pointless. Go! A strong cultivator's silhouette flickered. In the central part of the mountain range, a terrifying dark vortex appeared. Its dark qi was as fast as the strong cultivator. Some time passed, and the dark shadow caught up and surrounded the strong cultivator. The strong cultivator's facial expression changed drastically as he shouted, "No!" The strong cultivator disappeared inside that darkness. The vortex was getting more intense as lights flashed inside it. It wasn't just a dark vortex, it was also filled with something else. There was nobody left in the desolate mountain range. They had all either been absorbed by the darkness or had escaped. With a gust of terrifying wind, someone appeared, a human being. There was an altar above him, and above the altar, there was a cloud carrying a coffin. There were complex marks on the coffin. In front of the altar, a group of old people appeared who were wearing antique clothes. They were skinny and looked strange. The atmosphere calmed down. There was only destructive energies left, and still nobody talked. World Clan. The World Clan was a mysterious group of ancient clans. They understood world strength, which was a mysterious and mystical strength that couldn't be used by ordinary people. In the distance, a boat and a young man appeared. They didn't know there was an ancient group there, and that they were having a ceremony. They were using the ancient world coffin to transmit their knowledge to new kings. After some time, The group in the boat noticed the dark vortex in the distance. They frowned and said, "What's that?" However, the boat was fast, so after a short time, the professor in golden purple clothes, who was a high-level emperor, was close enough to sense the world strength. World strength. The professor made the boat fly in that direction. He wanted to see what was going on there. "Arg!" the young man behind shouted furiously. His voice was loud enough to make some mountains explode. The two old people before the altar raised their heads and gazed into the distance. The boat and the young man couldn't go back now. "Bastard!" The professor in the golden purple clothes and the young man weren't far from those people, and the young man had shouted so that everybody could see them. The boat stopped. The professor looked at the two old people before the altar and at the surroundings. His heart started pounding. That was an ancient clan, and they were having an important ceremony, which they didn't want disturbed. The young man smiled coldly, but then quickly looked petrified when he realized what was going on. He also started trembling. Ancient clan, world strength. Was that a mysterious ancient clan? Chapter 1664. Guessing things about Mengqing. The two old people looked at the group in the sky in a calm way. It was impossible to know what they were thinking. The professor in the golden purple clothes looked apologetic. He knew that the ancient clan's ceremony was extremely important. If he had offended them, then they might slaughter them. Even high-level emperors feared those people. "We come in peace, and we hope we haven't disturbed you. We'll be leaving now," said the professor. One of the old men looked indifferent as he said, "You all stay here, don't move." The professor's heart was pounding violently, but he nodded. The members of the World Clan had told them not to move to prevent them from disrupting the ceremony. Other things could wait for after the ceremony. "What's that strength?" thought Lin Feng, looking at the vortex which was becoming more and more terrifying. It looked like a demon cloud. Lin Feng hadn't experienced much in the great world, so he couldn't know about world clans. However, when he saw their faces, he was both impressed and fearful. "Is it a small world?" thought Lin Feng. The young man was looking at Lin Feng in a cold way. Lin Feng felt uncomfortable, but he also knew that he was safe until they finished their ceremony. The wind was becoming more terrifying, as a terrifying dark vortex appeared around the coffin. "What terrifying world strength?" thought the professor, staring at the hurricane. It seemed like they were going to end the ritual. At that moment, a strong cultivator raised his head and looked at the strong wind enthusiastically. But then everything fell apart. "How could we fail?" Those the old men looking desperate as the vortex disappeared. "We failed." All the old people looked sad and desperate. "We couldn't have failed without reason. There must have been a counter-strength which made us fail," said one of them, frowning. "Those people disturbed us," said an old man indifferently. Boom! The young man came out of the coffin wearing a black robe. "Forget about it," said the young man. "It's just a ceremony. There's no need to take it too seriously." The crowd nodded. "Lang Yi, we want to use the altar to establish the world bridge on your body, so that it could lead you to the vault of heaven. We wanted you to become a world emperor, but we failed. Even so, you will manage to become a world king," said an old man in a solemn and respectful way. He wanted Lang Yi to break through to the Huang Qi layer directly, unlike ordinary people who had to use cosmic energy. Of course. Lang Yi nodded. He was confident in his abilities. He would become a king, and then he would make his clan rise. Lang Yi turned to the crowd and said indifferently, "If the ceremony was interrupted by them, that's life. But it also means that one of them is extremely strong. Not just anyone can break the world ceremony." "Indeed," said an old man, rising in the air. "If you have any problems, solve them now." "Thank you, master," said the young man from the everlasting palace, nodding, and then he looked at Lin Feng. "Hand him over and we'll leave." "Do you think we will abandon our guest of honor because you want him?" asked the professor. "Since you want me to attack, I'll do it," said the young man. Then he jumped forwards and a light appeared. He disappeared and reappeared above the boat, a gigantic hand forming below him. "Space laceration!" shouted the professor in the golden purple clothes. His gigantic, sharp hand moved even faster after he heard the professor. Slash! The gigantic imperial weapon cut the hand in two. However, The enemy had forced his way forwards, now surrounded by dazzling lights. A deployment spell mixed with the empty space cosmic strength, thought Lin Feng. Meng Qing, if they capture me, stay with you Xian, and don't worry about me. I don't want you taking any useless risks, said Lin Feng using telepathy. He didn't want to say things like that before Qiu Xian, because her other personality could awaken if she heard sad or bad things. Meng Qing looked at Lin Feng nervously. If they capture you, I'll come with you. No, they want the everlasting deployment spells, and there's still a chance that I can get out of that alive. The most important thing for me is that you live, said Lin Feng. Meng Qing replied, all right, but you can't die. While they were talking, a golden light appeared around them and turned into a cage. Those cosmic energies were much stronger than those of a low-level emperor. There was no chance for him to escape now. However, a hand forcefully broke through the cage. Lin Feng and Meng Qing were astonished. An old man was looking at Meng Qing when he said, if you accept to get married with our new prince, I'll help you kill him. Meng Qing started shaking while Lin Feng looked intrigued. Meng Qing was wearing a mask and a plaited bamboo hat. But he wanted her to marry Lang Yi, which meant that they knew what Meng Qing's social status was. What a terrifying clan. Lin Feng came to that conclusion. Impossible. Meng Qing refused. Lang Yi frowned, but one of the old people said, Lang Yi, she's the descendant of a very powerful clan. Which one? Asked Lang Yi. The Snow Clan, replied the old man. Lang Yi frowned. He was a young king, so he knew about the Snow Clan. He had a king body, and knew how beneficial the Snow Clan could be for him. Chapter 1665. Guest of Honor. According to legends, their men and women are extremely attractive and possess a celestial qi. I wonder if that's true, said Lang Yi, looking at the old man. Could it be because of her that the ceremony failed? It should be. If she wasn't from the Snow Clan, she couldn't have interrupted our world ceremony, said the old man. But I've heard that to interrupt ceremonies using counter energy was something only people who had a certain body type could do. Seeing how the Snow Clan have a celestial body, do they possess counter energy too? Asked another old man, walking towards Meng Qing. I don't understand, said the old man indifferently. Do you have the celestial body of the Snow Clan? Meng Qing's eyes twinkled. Snow Clan? Celestial body? She didn't understand. All she remembered since her birth was having grown up in the small world, and then meeting Lin Feng, and becoming a human being. She can't agree, said Lin Feng without waiting for Meng Qing to reply. Are you sure? Said the old man indifferently. If she doesn't want to because of you, I'll kill you. We don't need you. Kill us both then, said Meng Qing coldly. The old man looked at Lin Feng calmly. A member of the Snow Clan would die for you. You're so lucky. Which clan are you from? I'm an ordinary person. I don't belong to any powerful group and I have no clan, said Lin Feng in a calm way. Your blood is ordinary indeed. You're incredibly lucky to be with a girl from the Snow Clan. Lang Yi, what do you think? Asked the old man to the young man. Forget about it. I don't like stealing women from other men, said Lang Yi. The old man nodded. Then he looked at those who were fighting. The young man and the professor in the golden purple clothes. Imperial weapons are treasures, but you must know how to use them. If you only use them to block attacks, they're useless. However, if you use them to supplement things you can't do yourself, then they can be useful, explained the old man in a calm way. Stop now. Why do you want to capture him? Asked the old man to the young man. He has received the teachings of the everlasting emperor, so I must bring him back, said the old man. It's your problem if other people receive the teachings from your ancestors. Leave now, said the old man. The young man looked upset. He had traveled so far, and now they asked him to leave without Lin Feng? How could he explain coming back without anything? If you don't leave, would you rather die here? Asked the old man. I'm off then. The young man immediately left. He couldn't offend the World Clan. Phew. The professor took a deep breath and said to the old man. Thank you very much, master. Don't thank me. You and your people must leave as well, said the old man annoyed. Lin Feng didn't understand. Why were those people so strange? They had threatened him a moment before. And then they had expelled the young man from the everlasting palace. "You two, stay here for a while, you're our guests of honor," said the old man to Lin Feng and Meng Qing. Meng Qing and Lin Feng looked extremely surprised. What was going on? The professor in the golden-purple clothes was even more surprised. Snow Clan's people. He hadn't thought that a member of the Snow Clan was with Lin Feng and was disguised as a man. He knew that the women from the Snow Clan were astonishingly beautiful. Lin Feng is very talented. He even killed an emperor with just the strength of the Zunqi layer. Some incredibly powerful women are with him, and apparently, they are a couple. Lin Feng's future will be phenomenally brilliant, as long as he doesn't die prematurely, thought the professor. It was only normal that the World Clan had invited Lin Feng and Meng Qing. They wanted to be closer to the Snow Clan by making friends with them. The World Clan had existed for a very long time, so they were proud too. That was why they didn't respect Goldfire Tower. The girl from the Snow Clan was around the same age as Lin Feng, and they were also around the same age as Lang Yi, so they could become good friends. Meng Qing looked at Lin Feng, and Lin Feng looked at the old man. If he refused, they could get angry. Besides, Lin Feng was very interested in their clan too. "Thank you for inviting us, but master, she's my wife too, so she must come," Lin Feng said, pointing at Qiu Xian. The old man from the World Clan was surprised but smiled. "All right, of course. Lin Feng, we're going to the vast celestial ancient city, so if you come later, you can still find me," said the professor. Then they left with their boat. "Lin Feng," said the old man smiling. "Let's go, we rarely receive outsiders." Lin Feng and the others flew in the sky, before eventually landing on the ground. There were dark clouds looming overhead, covering the entire mountain range in darkness. The World Clan had done that on purpose because they wanted their territory to be hidden, for it to look like a desolate mountain range. "Lin Feng, what do you think about our clan, the World Clan?" asked the old man. They had arrived in a castle already. "Terrifying," said Lin Feng. Zun cultivators were the weakest cultivators in that place, and there were emperors everywhere. "Have you ever been to the Snow Clan?" asked the old man smiling. Lin Feng shook his head. He knew nothing about the Snow Clan. "You must have some information about the Snow Clan, right?" asked the old man to Meng Qing. "Do you want to hear the truth?" asked Meng Qing to the old man. He was surprised and smiled. "What interesting young people. Of course I want to hear the truth." "I've never been to the Snow Clan," said Meng Qing. The old man was astonished. Had she been expelled? Impossible. She had developed a counter-strength which could interrupt their world ceremony. "But do you have the celestial king body of the Snow Clan?" asked the old man. "If you are referring to Xueling Long, I do," said Meng Qing. The old man was astonished again. As expected, she had Xueling Long's body. But how come she had never been to the Snow Clan? The old man couldn't believe it. However, he quickly thought of a solution. Lang Yi is back, and he hasn't broken through to the Huangqi layer? Thought many people intrigued. Amongst all those people, there was a young man who was fixedly staring at Lin Feng and the others. "Master, who are they? Why are they allowed here?" asked the young man who looked particularly unhappy. Chapter 1666, World Strength. "Don't worry, we've invited them," replied the old man, smiling. But the few young men didn't look happy. "Since they came as guests of honor, I want to see how strong he is. I doubt he's even worth having as a guest of honor," said the young man. "And why are they hiding their faces? What does that mean?" said a beautiful girl, looking at Meng Qing and Qiu Xian. Lin Feng looked at the elders, but they remained silent and smiled indifferently. The elders didn't prevent the young people from being arrogant. They would start traveling soon, so it was good that they were so enthusiastic. The old man liked watching battles between young people the most. He also knew why their young people were so arrogant. It was because they were already proud of being members of the World Clan. Meng Qing and Qiu Xian took off their plaited bamboo hats and masks to show their real faces. Many young men gulped down when they saw their faces. How breathtakingly beautiful, especially Meng Qing. The other one looked nice as well, but not as much as Meng Qing. The women of the Snow Clan are legendary, especially famous for their beauty. Too bad she already has someone, otherwise She would have perfect for our clan with her monarchic body, thought the old man. Most women were incredibly beautiful in the world clan, but when Meng Qing showed her face, those women all looked jealous. Good for nothing, thought a young woman when she saw that the young man next to her kept staring at Meng Qing. Young people. The old man smiled. Lang Yi looked captivated. He looked even more captivated than the other young people. Dong! The young man the girl had called a good-for-nothing jumped into the sky, saying, "Come and fight. We'll see if you deserve being our guest of honor." Lin Feng raised his head and glanced at the 20-year-old man, who had already broken through to the 9th Zunqi layer. "Attack," said the young man indifferently. His robes were fluttering in the wind as a terrifying qi rolled in waves. Lin Feng released demonic energies in return. The young man shook his hands and cyan light streaked across the sky, and although Lin Feng had used his deadly demon punch, both disappearing. How strong, thought the young man. Even though Lin Feng's attack didn't look dazzling or special, it was powerful. "Continue," said Lin Feng smiling. This time, he raised both hands and demonic energy balls appeared. The young man released lights which moved towards the deadly demon punches. But things didn't look that easy for the young man. Lin Feng's deadly demon punches were very powerful, and had destroyed his cyan lights from the inside out. He was being pushed backwards, his facial expression making a change for the worst. That outsider was oppressing him. That guy can have sex with a celestial girl from the Snow Clan. And on top of that, she lets him have other women, so it's no surprise that he's extraordinary. His demon energy is already at the maximum level, so an ordinary cultivator of the 9th Zunqi layer couldn't compete with him, thought the old man. Your cyan lights are terrifying too, not bad, said Lin Feng calmly. He recalled his deadly demon punches. Arg! The young man shouted furiously, running forwards while releasing cyan lights from his left hand and terrifyingly sharp qi from his right hand. Suddenly, Lin Feng raised his hands, having condensed deadly demon punches in his left hand and destructive energies in his right. Break! The ground broke under Lin Feng's feet as he attacked the cyan lights. The sky shook and slowly the cyan lights dispersed. He broke the lights. The crowd was surprised. Lin Feng's fist continued moving towards the young man, threatening to take his life. You're much stronger than I am, said the young man in a calm way. Lin Feng's deadly demon punch disappeared. Then he smiled and said, The strength of your clan is very strange, but it's very powerful. Ordinary people of the same level can't fight against you guys. Indeed, you're an exception. You're even stronger than ordinary people. The young man had accepted Lin Feng's strength. It's okay to lose, especially if you learn from your mistakes, said the old man indifferently. The young man nodded, and after that, someone else came to Lin Feng. I want to fight. Lin Feng looked at the old man. The old man remained silent and smiled. Lin Feng then looked at his opponent and asked, Are you ready? Let's fight, said the young man in a calm way. However, a terrifying wind immediately started blowing and world lights appeared. However, Lin Feng had vanished. He was already standing above his opponent. That person's mouth twitched, he looked petrified. His world lights faded. He felt even more humiliated. He hadn't even started the fight, but had already lost. If you were my enemy, you'd be dead already, said Lin Feng in a calm way. Wind and empty space strength. The old man from the World Clan was staring at Lin Feng. With that speed, apart from emperors, nobody could defeat Lin Feng. I underestimated him, thought the old man of the clan. He looked at Lang Yi and smiled. They can't make him use his full strength. Don't you want to try? I do, said Lang Yi nodding. He was curious, could that young man, who was in a relationship with the celestial girl of the Snow Clan, stand a chance against him? Lang Yi landed in front of Lin Feng. Suddenly, Lin Feng had the feeling that he was facing a gigantic, ancient beast. He possessed the monarchic body of the ancient world clan, so it was obvious that he was a lot stronger than the two young men who Lin Feng had already fought. Chapter 1667. World Strength. Lang Yi is going to fight against him. The crowd looked at the fighters, both looking terrifying. One of them was wearing a white robe, while the other was wearing a black robe. Can he fight against Lang Yi? asked a young woman to one of the men Lin Feng had defeated. Lang Yi had the monarchic body of the World Clan, and he might become the king of the ancient World Clan in the future. Among those who were directly related to the blood lineage, nobody could compete with him. He's very strong, and his attacks are powerful, but he can't compete with Lang Yi, said a young man. Nobody had ever seen Lang Yi use his full strength. Right, the young girl nodded. The future monarch of the World Clan couldn't lose. Lin Feng's eyes became pitch black as demonic intent emerged from his eyes. Cursing strength also assaulted Lang Yi's eyes. He was surprised his facial expression changed too. Whoosh! The space seemed to fluctuate around them. Then Lang Yi looked strange. His eyes looked to have two vortexes in the which were absorbing the demonic intent. The cursing strength also disappeared. He really is strong. He already made Lang Yi use the world vision, thought the young men on the ground. The world vision was a technique that only those of the direct lineage could use, and once the cultivator had experience, they could use their world vision to make people drown in their eyes. Lin Feng watched as his intent was being drained into his Lang Yi's eyes. Then, all sorts of vision attacks assaulted Lin Feng's eyes. Lin Feng slowly walked forwards, fixedly staring at Lang Yi as he released dream energy. Lang Yi was surprised again. Now there were different types of strength assaulting him. If he acted carelessly, he could be in danger. Whoosh! Suddenly, Lin Feng moved like the wind and used his deadly demon punch. Lang Yi looked at the fists and space became distorted again. Two deadly demon punches passed next to Lang Yi, but he seemed unfazed. Great Earth Destruction! Lin Feng attacked again. This time, Lang Yi raised his fists and more world lights appeared. Lin Feng's Great Earth Destruction crashed onto the world lights, and then his attack became distorted. Lacerate! Sword lights rose to the skies and moved towards Lang Yi. World lights emerged from Lang Yi's eyes. The space around the sword lights caused them to move slower and slower, until Lang Yi was able to destroy them with his fingers. But Lin Feng didn't stop attacking. He was determined to break through Lang Yi's defenses. He continued releasing more sword energies, and used his Great Earth Destruction again, all the while trying to move as quickly as possible. If he gave Lang Yi any time to think, then he would attack. Lang Yi's eyes were twinkling as he suddenly slapped the air in front of him, and then more world lights appeared, along with a coffin. With the coffin, a strong wind started blowing, crashing into Lin Feng, propelling him backwards. His arms felt paralyzed after taking the brunt of that blow. Lang Yi raised his hands and lifted the coffin, condensing his cyan lights. The coffin wasn't an imperial weapon. Lang Yi had just used his mysterious world strength to condense it. Lang Yi's world strength is incredible. No wonder he has the monarchic body of the World Clan, thought the crowd. Lang Yi threw his gigantic coffin, which was surrounded by King Qi, at Lin Feng. He hadn't just used cyan lights, he could also use pure, aggressive world strength. Lin Feng released more sword energy, and in front of him, a long and heavy sword condensed. That sword was 3 meters long, and contained a heavy type of energy. Lin Feng held it in both his hands as he ran forwards. The two fighters got closer and closer, before finally, the cyan coffin and the gigantic sword collided. A terrifying vortex of energies appeared, causing the coffin and the sword to break apart. But after the coffin, it turned into a terrifying beast, which continued moving towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng moved back using the wind, while Lang Yi continued releasing world lights. Is that the power that cultivators of the World Clan have? Can they make new worlds before having broken through to the Huangqi layer? Thought Lin Feng. Use your most powerful attack and show us how strong you really are, said Lang Yi. Then his blood started boiling and terrifying world lights rose to the skies, moving in all directions. A shadow appeared behind Lang Yi. It a shadow of himself, but he was gigantic and looked like a king. It seems like he can already make parallel worlds and imprison people inside them, thought the elders of the clan. They were very happy. At the same level, nobody could fight with him, but because Lin Feng's speed was so incredible, Lang Yi still couldn't defeat him easily. Don't dodge, I won't imprison you. I just want to see your most powerful attack, said Lang Yi, condensing more cyan lights. His attack had turned into a gigantic cyan world coffin, with a world forming inside. Alright, don't hold back either then, otherwise this will be boring, said Lin Feng, nodding calmly. The members of the World Clan looked startled. Humph, that guy is just acting arrogant. If Lang Yi uses his full strength, Lin Feng would definitely die, said a young woman. Arrogant bastard. Is he implying that Lang Yi's attacks are not powerful enough? Alright, I'll do as you wish, said Lang Yi just as calmly. A terrifying king formed behind him, and his cyan coffin started blotting out the sky. His spirit can leave his body. Lin Feng realized. Many emperors couldn't do that, but Lang Yi could. A demon king appeared behind Lin Feng. It looked like an ancient demon. Lin Feng raised his hands and a black sword appeared. Even when facing such monstrous world strength, he didn't flinch. Huh. The crowd sensed the terrifying sword and demon energies coming from Lin Feng. Die! Shouted Lang Yi furiously. A terrifying world strength emerged from the coffin, seeming capable of destroying anything in its path. Attack! Shouted Lin Feng furiously. Black lights rose to the skies as Lin Feng also released his sword energies. Slash! The gigantic black sword streaked across the sky and crashed onto the coffin, instantly causing some cracks to form. Then the sword pierced through it and destroyed the world strength. Lang Yi was amazed. He shook his hands and said, "Come back." The cyan coffin dispersed and moved back into his body. The terrifying world king also disappeared, leaving just Lin Feng and Lang Yi staring at each other. The atmosphere was eerily silent. Even the elders of the World Clan were dumbstruck. How strong! After a long time, Lang Yi said those two words and smiled. You're the second person I've met who's that terrifying. Lang Yi was looking at Lin Feng in a respectful way. Chapter 1668. World Clan. Just who is he? How come he can defeat Lang Yi? Thought the crowd. They didn't understand. No wonder what. Those three peoples were guests of honor in their World Clan. Even the elders of the clan were happy with their decision to invite Lin Feng and them in. That boy must have a special body, thought one of the elders of the World Clan. He walked forwards and smiled. Lin Feng, has a very powerful group of people sent you? Lin Feng looked at the old man. He didn't trust him. I was born in a small place, and I have a special body, which allows me to understand 10 different sorts of abstruse energies. But I only started benefiting from the body recently. I really come from an unknown family, said Lin Feng. The old man was aghast. A body which allows you to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies. No wonder I sensed so many different types in your last sword attack, which was perfect, I should add. The old man nodded. Lang Yi uses world strength, and he already has the strength of a low-level emperor with it. You managed to destroy his coffin, which means that you can already destroy low-level emperor's small worlds. Now Lin Feng understood what it meant. With his world strength, Lang Yi could make a small world as resistant as the small world of a low-level emperor. That was the reason why Lang Yi could already make small worlds, even though he hadn't broken through to the Huangqi layer. No wonder such a beautiful woman from the Snow Clan fell in love with you. You're strong, you are smart, and you have a body which allows you to understand 10 different sorts of abstruse energies. You and the members of the World Clan should become friends and exchange views on cultivation, said the old man who was still smiling. I really don't deserve so much praise, master, replied Lin Feng politely. The old man shook his hands and smiled. Lin Feng, in the future, you must become even stronger, otherwise you won't be able to protect your wives. You can't imagine how strong the Snow Clan is. Lin Feng frowned. The Snow Clan was a mysterious and ancient animal clan. They were really scary, but why had Meng Qing, a girl who had the celestial body of the Snow Clan, ended up in a small world? The only reason was known by Mother Master. Master, how strong is the Snow Clan? Asked Lin Feng. You can't imagine. They are going through a flourishing period now, while for us, times are ominous, said the old man. With the strength of the ancient World Clan, they must be even stronger than the Everlasting Palace. I only know a little bit about them, so I can't even imagine how powerful ancient clans are, thought Lin Feng. Besides, many people want the ancient scriptures of the Snow Clan. If Meng Qing doesn't fight, people won't pay much attention to her. But if she fights for real, Some very strong cultivators will guess what her real social status is and will chase her. If the Snow Clan doesn't protect her, she can't travel freely, and if she encounters other animal clans, things might get dangerous for her, said the old man. Lin Feng stopped him and asked, "What do you mean, master?" "If she accepts, she can practice cultivation here. Besides, our strong cultivators will also help her become stronger. They can even guarantee her safety when she travels," said the old man. Lin Feng frowned. He didn't understand what the old man meant. Was he trying to make Meng Qing join their clan? The old man saw that Lin Feng looked skeptical and said, "Lin Feng, you are guests of honor here, and you are extremely strong. Lang Yi and you should become friends. I wanted him to go and travel, so you could travel with him, while Meng Qing could stay here in the World Clan with us. Wouldn't it be a great relief if she was safe here? With my social status, nobody can harm her. It would be a win-win relationship. After all, if the World Clan wants to rise again, we have to collaborate with other people too. Of course, if you don't accept, I won't force you. It's just a proposition. After all, having the celestial body of the Snow Clan grants her a very special social status." Lin Feng now understood. If the World Clan helped Meng Qing, it would be very beneficial for her. After all, the World Clan was an ancient clan like the Snow Clan. Therefore, Lin Feng was relieved. Meng Qing had no way to become stronger if she stayed with Lin Feng. And with her talent, it would be a pity if she stopped progressing. "Wouldn't you be worried about Lang Yi's safety if he went traveling?" asked Lin Feng. "Lang Yi has treasures from the World Clan to protect him in case of danger. Besides, not many people would dare attack a young man from the World Clan, who has the king body of the clan," replied the old man. "Lin Feng, I understand you. Lang Yi and Meng Qing's situations are different. Lang Yi has our king body while the World Clan raises him. But in her case, things are different because she has the queen body of the Snow Clan, but she has never been to the Snow Clan. I may be wrong, but I'm convinced it must have something to do with the internal situation of the Snow Clan. I imagine things could get dangerous for her if she continued traveling with you. She isn't Meng Qing's biological mother. She might just be a servant of the Snow Clan, and her role was only to protect and take care of Meng Qing," thought Lin Feng. "You can think about what he said. I can guarantee you that our clan won't harm her, and that she'll be happy here," said Lang Yi. "Let us talk about it first." Lin Feng was looking at Meng Qing. If they were right, then Meng Qing's social status made the situation more complex than they had expected. If the World Clan meant them harm, then letting her stay there would be problematic. Lin Feng had to travel and go to the main cities to improve, but that would make the situation even more dangerous for Meng Qing. "Of course, you can stay here for a few days. You're our guest of honor, so you can do whatever you want in the World Clan. If you want to leave together, Lang Yi can come with you as well. Our young king should travel nonetheless," said the old man smiling. "Lang Yi, take them for a walk and show them around." "All right," Lang Yi nodded. "Lin Feng, it's the first time you're here, so I'll show you the world my World Clan fabricated." "Thank you very much," said Lin Feng cheerfully. He'll soon break through to the Huangqi layer. Then he would definitely make his own world. With their strength, the World Clan had probably created an extraordinary small world. "Go!" Lang Yi rose up in the air. Then Lin Feng and the girls followed him. The old man watched as Lin Feng and the others left. "You really want to raise the celestial girl of the Snow Clan?" asked one of the old men. "Of course, we've been silent for so many years and now she shows up. It's still not enough though. Lang Yi also needs friends. The World Clan needs friends. Lin Feng has a body which allows him to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies. And he's also extremely proficient at using them. In the future, he'll become incredible. Although he still has a long way to go. Imagine in 1,000 years, he might just be a public figure of the continent." "What about the Snow Clan?" asked another one. "We need to be sincere. We need to make efforts to raise the girl too. Even if we fail, she'll still be grateful," said the old man. The others said nothing. Chapter 1669. Decision. Lin Feng had just arrived in their castle, and he could already see that there were innumerable powerful cultivators. After some time, he realized that even if the World Clan was extremely powerful compared with other groups, they still had some weaker people. Their blood had been transmitted from generation to generation over a long period of time, so it had naturally weakened. Only the one with the king-type body would have a powerful bloodline. Lang Yi, your clan controls world strength, but do they use other types of strength as well? Asked Lin Feng. Lin Feng and Lang Yi had become acquaintances already, so he felt comfortable asking this question. Of course we do, but I have the king body of the World Clan, so my other types of strength aren't very good, because I mostly practice world cultivation. Many people here also study other types of strength though. It's very convenient for world cultivation, you'll see. Lang Yi replied cheerfully. People who are not from the World Clan cannot use world strength to the degree that we can. Sometimes they can't control it at all, said Lang Yi, sounding self-confident. Back then, when my clan was prosperous and powerful, one of my ancestors, a peerless cultivator, had celestial world creation powers. Many small worlds have been created by my ancestors. A peerless cultivator, how strong, thought Lin Feng. When the World Clan was prosperous and powerful, it was probably terrifying. The group continued running until Lin Feng felt things getting very hot. What's going on? Lin Feng asked. Come with me and you'll understand, said Lang Yi smiling. Sun. Lin Feng frowned. It was as if a gigantic sun was nearing them. Lin Feng raised his head and looked up at the sun. Above them, there were more suns than there should be. Finally, Lin Feng and the others arrived in front of those suns high in the sky. What's that? Asked Lin Feng. A world which has been created by one of our ancestors. It's the sun world. We also have ice worlds and so on. Our strong cultivators use cosmic energies and special powers to create these worlds. Lang Yi explained calmly. This small world contains terrifying fire energies. If you were to put one of those suns in a city, it could destroy it entirely. And if you use the world's strength from this world, you could carry out terrifying attacks. Do you want to go and see the other worlds? Asked Lang Yi, but Lin Feng shook his head. I want to stay here for a few days, and then I'll come back to you. Is that all right? Lin Feng asked. All right, I'll wait for you in the city where we were. Don't forget what the elders told you, said Lang Yi. Then he turned around and left looking carefree. Lin Feng looked at Meng Qing and smiled. Meng Qing, what do you think? Lin Feng, you must want me to stay in the World Clan, right? Said Meng Qing. She knew what Lin Feng was thinking. He was worried about her and her safety. If you stay with me and do nothing, you won't progress at all. And the World Clan said it themselves. You have the celestial body of the Snow Clan. So traveling is dangerous for you. I think you should stay here. And I would come and see you whenever I could, said Lin Feng smiling. Meng Qing smiled and nodded. All right, I will always listen to you. Meng Qing didn't want to stay away from Lin Feng, but she couldn't protect him like in the past. She would become a burden if she stayed with him all the time. Since she had the celestial body of the Snow Clan, she had to cherish her body and become strong, and in the future, then Lin Feng and Meng Qing would be a better team. They also had to learn about her memories. What was wrong with her memory? Why couldn't she remember some things? At least in the World Clan, she would be free. If she missed him too much, she might be able to go and see him. Lin Feng caressed Meng Qing's face and smiled. He hoped that the World Clan would help her become stronger. He had kept Meng Qing with him like that for so many years. But it was a mistake. She could have become much stronger if she had been in a better environment. Lin Feng raised his head, and his Tianji sword appeared. It immediately started moving around in the sun world. The Tianji sword had endured millions of attacks to become that powerful. However, it was still just a soul. Lin Feng's soul grew along with the sword's soul. That world was filled with sun fire, which was perfect to cleanse his sword with. I'll go and see. Lin Feng rose up in the air and flew towards the sun. The sun began to burn him, but as he got closer, he noticed someone practicing cultivation and swallowing the strength of the sun fire. Lin Feng forgot about everything. Then he closed his eyes and sat down on the sun. He practiced cultivation together with his Tianji sword. On the 7th day, Lin Feng left the sun world. In the meanwhile, Yuxian and Meng Qing were together walking in the world clan's kingdom. Lin Feng found some special worlds, such as sometimes, he jumped into waterfalls and realized that another world was behind them. Sometimes, he walked on a mountain and suddenly found himself in another world. Lin Feng couldn't sense those energies because he hadn't broken through to the Huangqi layer yet. People could imprison him in such a world and they really wanted to. Lin Feng and the girls visited the world clan's territory, taking in the mountains, rivers, and beautiful sceneries. After that, they went back to the castle of the kingdom and looked for the elders and Lang Yi. Lin Feng, did you make a decision? Asked the elder. If you're all leaving now, Lang Yi can come with you. Master, please take care of my wife Meng Qing, said Lin Feng, bowing before the old man. Lin Feng had to be very polite, especially considering that they were going to take care of Meng Qing. All right, you don't have to worry. Even though we are not as strong as before, we have existed for a very long time. We will do our best to make the celestial girl stronger, as if she was part of our family, said the elder. Thank you, master. I'll pay you back someday if I can. Just become strong, said the elder smiling. Lin Feng, do you want to leave now or wait a few more days? I want to leave now, said Lin Feng. All right, Lang Yi, go and travel with Lin Feng. Don't come back if there's nothing important happening, said the elder. Some strong cultivators from the world clan would follow him everywhere secretly, so he had nothing to fear. Chapter 1670. Moon Imperial Palace. Thousands of meters away from the world clan, 3 people were riding a sword. Lin Feng was one of them, but he was silent. Next to him was Yuxian, who was holding his hand and caressing it. She knew that Lin Feng had been through a lot with Meng Qing, and that she couldn't replace her. This time, Lin Feng was very sad to leave her behind. The world clan will not disappoint you, said Lang Yi. He knew that Lin Feng was sad. I decided to let her stay there, and I trust the world clan. This isn't something I could avoid, said Lin Feng smiling. Lang Yi nodded. This time, we're going to the vast celestial ancient city, which is one of the 18 main cities of the region of the Dark Night. We'll find many strong cultivators there, so we need to remain determined and practice cultivation diligently. We need to break through to the Huangqi layer as soon as possible. Lin Feng smiled but didn't talk much. He knew Lang Yi was right. Lin Feng's Tianji sword was extremely fast, of course. It couldn't compare to the boat, so they'd have to spend more time traveling. While on the sword, they practiced cultivation and looked at the landscapes. There were many tribes, cities, beautiful landscapes, clouds. Sometimes people glanced at them, but Lin Feng and the others just ignored them. The vast celestial ancient city was one of the 18 main cities of the region, so there were many powerful sects and clans there. Outside of the ancient city, there was an old lake where the water was always calm. At that moment, outside of the vast celestial ancient city, near the gigantic lake, the sound of music wafted through the air. Someone was playing the zither. With the pavilions, boats, and people who were nicely dressed, the scene resembled a painting. Above the water, Lin Feng and the 2 others were still riding the sword. Those people know how to enjoy themselves, whispered Lin Feng. He heard music, people's conversations and laughter. It was great. The musician looks relaxed, but I'm sure he is extremely determined. Lin Feng knew music, so he could easily determine what the sound waves contained. He's determined, he's a real professional, whispered Lang Yi, opening his eyes. Then, he walked towards the center of the lake. Vast celestial ancient city. Lin Feng gazed into the distance. Then he looked at Yuxian and smiled. Let's go and see. The landscape is incredible, thought Lin Feng. He glanced around, noticing a group of beautiful women dancing. Lin Feng sighed. Those beautiful women were extremely strong. They were all cultivators at the top of the Zunqi layer. The moon in the celestial sky. Going to the city, one dance. Lin Feng listened to someone singing. He turned around and saw a young man. That young man was wearing white clothes and was playing his instrument with 10 fingers. I really don't deserve so much praise, thank you, said one of the women when she saw that everybody was looking at her with admiration. Beautiful and talented, said a young man. He looked elegant and smiled thinly. How are things at the Moon Imperial Palace? When I have time, I'll have to come and visit. Mr. Bai, would you like to join the Moon Palace? Asked the woman. From her eyes, she seemed to look surprised. If you let me join the Moon Clan, I wouldn't refuse, said the young man, smiling. The Moon Imperial Palace had disappeared for 1,000 years, and now they were back playing music and dancing. That woman proved they hadn't disappeared completely. The young men around them were all famous, so when they heard that young man, they knew that the Moon Imperial Palace was still in existence. The Moon Imperial Palace. Lang Yi repeated. Even though the Moon Imperial Palace wasn't as strong as the World Clan, they were very famous in the vast celestial ancient city, known for their many beautiful women. Lin Feng didn't understand much about influential groups in the vast celestial ancient city. He had the impression that the Moon Imperial Palace couldn't be compared with the Moon Palace in his previous life. In 3 days, we'll come back to the vast celestial ancient city, said the girl. She slowly stopped playing and took her instrument back. After a short time, the girls disappeared. Nobody thought it was strange. They're gaining power again, said Lang Yi. Even though the Phoenix Pavilion had disappeared, they never stopped playing the zither. Some people accelerated on their boats towards some distant music. Then, some music talismans appeared, causing waves to roll in the lakes, almost sinking some boats. A terrifying chi appeared in the air, and then the waves stopped. People could still hear the zither from the talismans. They each turned into golden imprints. One young man got closer, and the deadly energies turned into destructive energies. As the young man was inside those energies, all the talismans broke apart around him. Boom! The talismans exploded, sinking the boat and throwing chi out in all directions. Those people are enthusiastic, thought Lin Feng, smiling. Many young people from the vast celestial ancient city are here, and they want to fight. Some of them plan to go to the Moon Imperial Palace in a few days, said someone. Strength is strength, it's the most important thing in this world, said Lin Feng, laughing indifferently. That person looked upset when he heard Lin Feng. Lang Yi looked at him in a deep and profound way, causing that person to shudder unconsciously. Let's go to the ancient city, said Lang Yi, rising in the sky. The lake was just on their path, initially. However, as they flew away, a strength suddenly emerged. They heard zither and an ancient music getting louder. Suddenly, imprints moved towards them at full speed. Lang Yi shook his hands and a terrifying strength appeared, containing world lights. The space around them became distorted as a vortex appeared, which surrounded everyone. How strong! The crowd was wide-eyed. The World Clan, whispered the musicians, smiling. Things were going to be fun this time at the vast celestial ancient city. Chapter 1671. The Heaven Clan vast celestial ancient city was enormous, filled with many heroic cultivators. The sect of the ancient capital resembled an ancient beast which opened its mouth towards the sky. Lin Feng and the others were in the ancient capital city sightseeing. Vast celestial ancient city had many different influential groups. Therefore, there was a high demand for beautiful architectural projects. People wanted lofty, original, creative buildings for their groups. Lin Feng, you were the one who wanted to go to vast celestial ancient city. So was there somewhere in particular you wanted to go? Asked Lang Yi. There is one place, but it's not the right time to go. But if there is an opportunity, I'll go, said Lin Feng indifferently. Apart from becoming stronger, he had another goal for coming to vast celestial ancient city. Alright, good. Let's go and find a master. We'll know more about the city and everything if we ask them, said Lang Yi. He had a king body, so he was a master too. Lang Yi was from the World Clan, and their friends were all terrifying groups of influence who thought highly of Lang Yi. All right, said Lin Feng. He wasn't going to refuse. Since he was in vast celestial ancient city, why not hang out with the strong cultivators? Lang Yi was young and had traveled a lot in the past. He hadn't stayed in the World Clan the whole time. In the past, he used to hide his true identity whilst traveling, but now, he decided to travel with the status of a king. The Heaven Clan, one of the existences in vast celestial ancient city, one who has been there for a very long time. They were an ancient clan like the World Clan. Because those clans had existed for so long, they used to be called ancient clans, and they had habits and customs, which were seen throughout history. Some ancient clans were also called holy clans, which meant that they had a holy great emperor. At that moment, Lang Yi and Lin Feng were in the Heaven clan. Lang Yi told Lin Feng a few of these things about the Heaven clan before they arrived. Lin Feng and the others were in the periphery of the Heaven clan. At the very entrance, there were guards of which adorned white gloves, armors, and were all cultivators at the top of the Zunqi layer. In the small worlds, cultivators at the top of the Zunqi layer are incredible cultivators, but in the Heaven clan, cultivators at the top of the Zunqi layer are simply guards. Thought Lin Feng, smiling wryly. Tell Master Tsang Ling that Lang Yi is here and came to see him, said Lang Yi to the guard. One of guards frowned and looked at them coldly. Tsang Ling was their current leader, so who would dare ask to see him? But when he saw Lang Ye's imposing appearance, and that Lin Feng and Xiao Yu Exan also looked extraordinary, the guard didn't try to offend them. People who pronounce their leader's name like that could be from terrifying influential groups or disciples of holy clans. Please wait a moment, said a guard, glancing at them before he went back into the territory of the clan. That person had just entered the core territory of the Heaven clan when the group of young people appeared. The guards frowned and looked at Lang Yi and the others, so they really were from an incredible clan. At least it must be the case considering that the most incredible disciples of Heaven clan came out. The one in the front was wearing clean, thin clothes. He looked nice yet rigid. Amongst cultivators of the Zunqi layer and under, he was the most outstanding one, Song Xiao. The others with him were all core disciples too, but they still hadn't broken through to the Huangqi layer, just like Lang Yi. The leader of the clan talks about you all the time. Lang Yi, I'm happy to see you, said Song Xiao, smiling in a warm way. He walked to them and said, Brother Lang Yi, you came from so far away, please come in. The leader has already started preparing everything for a party. Then, Lin Feng and Xiao Yu Exan smiled and nodded. They didn't say anything, and since they were with Lang Yi, they were also guests of honor. Song Xiao, said Lang Yi. I wouldn't have thought that you'd remember me, said Song Xiao walking ahead. The guard sighed. The Heaven clan was an ancient holy clan, so it was no surprise that their territory looked incredible. There was a flight of stairs with 108 steps. There was a vast area with tables and alcohol waiting for them at the top. Little Yi, said the leader, Tsang Ling, smiling at Lang Yi and the others. Lin Feng didn't sense any of his qi, so he couldn't see his cultivation level either. Long time no see. You are an incredible host, said Lang Yi smiling back. The two organizers of the banquet smiled. Master, you're too polite. Come, we're happy to have you here in the Heaven clan, said Song Ling smiling. He pointed at a seat just under the leader's seat, reserved for guests of honor. Lang Yi nodded and walked there. Lin Feng wanted to follow but Song Xiao came to them and said, You too come with me. Lin Feng was surprised. Lang Yi wanted to say something, but Lin Feng smiled and said, All right. He already knew he couldn't sit with them. After all, he wasn't from the ancient world clan like Lang Yi. He nodded at Lang Yi, and Lang Yi didn't say anything. He walked to his seat as Song Xiao took Lin Feng and Xiao Yu Exan to a place where most other young people from the Heaven clan also sat. A beautiful woman was seated above Lin Feng. She faced Song Xiao, as if they had the same social status. My name is Tsang Yu, what is yours? Asked the girl to Lin Feng, smiling in a gentle way. Lin Feng, are you from the World Clan as well? Asked Tsang Yu. Lin Feng shook his head and said, I'm not. You're not. Tsang Yu looked surprised and said, How come you were with Lang Yi? We met on the way and decided to travel together, said Lin Feng. Then which ancient clan are you from? Asked Tsang Yu. Lin Feng understood what was going on. He had been placed there because they wanted to learn more about him. And it was easier if a girl asked him these questions. I'm an ordinary cultivator, not from any ancient clans, said Lin Feng smiling. Then he downed his glass. Tsang Yu laughed when she saw that, but didn't ask anything more. At that moment, Tsang Ling and Lang Yi were chatting. The Moon Imperial Palace are making a reappearance in vast celestial ancient city, so they will probably rise again. Their people are about your age, I think. They have disappeared over 1,000 years. So many ancient scriptures disappeared with them, replied Lang Yi. Of course. The Moon Imperial Palace had incredible disciples, and they had many ancient scriptures. They had some very powerful ones at that. Some of the better ones they had was the incredible shattering and destructive holy scriptures, said Song Ling smiling. They're just not determined enough, said Lang Yi calmly. Haha, many people think that. Of course, Lang Yi, you're from the World Clan, so you're better than most, said Song Ling smiling. The young people from the Moon Imperial Palace had indeed hurt many outstanding people, but they had their reasons. In the past, the Moon Imperial Palace had offended a holy clan, thus forcing them to disappear for 1,000 years. Chapter 1672. In the middle of the night, nothing happened during the banquet. Lin Feng just listened to people and tried to learn more about vast celestial ancient city. Since he was there, he had to understand the customs of the city and who the strongest groups in the city were. Lin Feng wasn't Lang Yi. He didn't have a dazzling background, so nobody talked to him except for Song Yu, who only exchanged a few sentences with him. After the banquet, Song Ling took Lang Yi around the Heaven Clan. He had also prepared a place for Lin Feng and Lang Yi to stay. Brother Lang Yi, did you know that the Moon Imperial Palace came back to the Moon Imperial Palace? They haven't appeared here for 1,000 years, so they might be strong now. They might also have beautiful women. Maybe you could find yourself one there, said Song Xiao. Since they're here, we should get to know them, said Lang Yi calmly. I think so too. Some other young people from other holy clans are sure to come, so you should meet them too, said Song Xiao. Has anyone from the Chu clan broken through to the Huangqi lair? Asked Lang Yi. Song Xiao knew why Lang Yi asked that. The Chu clan and the Heaven clan were both holy clans, and even though the strongest young man, they had possessed the intent of an emperor, he didn't have a king body. Not yet. I've heard that the Chu clan has prepared 72 emperors' intent for him, so that he can break through to the Huangqi lair though, said Song Xiao. Lang Yi nodded indifferently. No need to stay with us all the time, said Lang Yi, indicating that he wanted to rest. Song Xiao smiled and nodded. If you need anything, just ask me. Make yourself at home. All right, said Lang Yi nodding. Lin Feng interjected. Can we get a map? We don't understand vast celestial ancient city. Song Xiao glanced at Lin Feng and smiled. He released his godly awareness and transferred a map to Lin Feng. Thank you very much, said Lin Feng. You're welcome, replied Song Xiao. Then he said to Lang Yi, I'm off. When Song Xiao left, Lang Yi smiled at Lin Feng and said, Do you want to go to town? I do. I'd love to visit the ancient capital. Besides, I don't like it when there are so many people with me all the time, said Lin Feng. I'll come with you, said Lang Yi. There's no need. I'll just have a walk and come back, said Lin Feng politely. Lang Yi was surprised. He didn't understand. He smiled but asked nothing. Lin Feng had things to do in vast celestial ancient city apparently, but he also said he'd come back, so there was no need to worry. If you need anything, just call me, said Lang Yi. Then he left. Lin Feng smiled at Qiu Yu Xian and said, Go to the room and have a rest. I'll come back late tonight. Vast celestial ancient city was a lot larger than celestial Qi Castle, so if Lin Feng wanted to cross the city, a few days still wouldn't be enough. Luckily, the place he wanted to go wasn't too far. All right. Qiu Yu Xian nodded and went to a room. Lin Feng started leaving. Brother Lin, where are you going? Asked Song Yu. She was smiling as always. I've never seen the city, so I want to travel around, said Lin Feng. I can come with you, said Song Yu. There's no need. I'm used to traveling alone, said Lin Feng as he accelerated. Song Yu frowned. An ancient imprint trailed behind her as she accelerated. Brother Lin, why wouldn't you want a beautiful woman next to you? Song Yu asked. I told you I'm used to it, said Lin Feng. Then he moved exceptionally fast. Holy marks even appeared behind him. He was trying to get rid of Song Yu. Song Yu could only watch as Lin Feng disappeared into the distance. She stopped and smiled. That guy is so fast. I wonder how strong he is. Lin Feng left the Heaven clan and went to the southwestern part of the city. Even though he traveled with incredible speed, most people didn't even care about him, because there were too many strong cultivators already there. That young man was just a pedestrian to them. Later that night, Lin Feng stopped and looked at his surroundings. It was hard to imagine that there could be such an abandoned area in vast celestial ancient city. It must be here, thought Lin Feng, glancing around. He had stopped at some ruins which seemingly hadn't been lived in for quite some time. Lin Feng slowly walked towards the ancient palaces, noting a demonic energy there. "Stop," said someone at that moment. He turned around and saw a middle-aged person. He said, "You're still too young, you can't go there. Many people die there, so you shouldn't go." Then the middle-aged man left. Lin Feng shivered. That person was an emperor. Ancient mysteries, thought Lin Feng. He could sense deployment energies, so maybe there was an illusion ahead. It is probably the everlasting celestial emperor's memories that I'm thinking of, thought Lin Feng. Unfortunately, he didn't know if he could go there or not. He just knew that it was there. Lin Feng continued getting closer. At the same time, his eyes slowly turned black, and he began to look like a demon. He looked at the palace, but he couldn't see inside because it was surrounded by pitch-black energies. It seemed that even with his pitch-black eyes, it wasn't enough. "Go!" Lin Feng shook his hands, and an illusion-like mountain descended from the sky, making the ground quake some. Suddenly, Lin Feng sensed a coldness surround him, and then demon lights appeared inside the darkness. "Who's inside?" thought Lin Feng. Those eyes looked like they belonged to a young person. Nobody replied to him, and the eyes disappeared. Lin Feng was sure that somebody was inside. Quickly, Lin Feng sensed a hand filled with death energy moving towards him. He moved back at full speed, but the death chi was quick to surround him. "Life!" Lin Feng released life energy and continued moving backwards. He also released sword energies to break the death chi apart. However, the energies which had already invaded his body were starting to corrode him from the inside out. Lin Feng continued moving back until he was very far away, feeling a bit relieved. He took a deep breath and absorbed the death energy from a distance. "Who's that?" Even though his death strength is powerful, it's not a strength I can't block. However, I don't know how strong that person really is, thought Lin Feng. Chapter 1673. Celestial Evolution Holy Clan. But that person could go inside, which meant they were at least outstanding. "I can't go in, it's too dangerous. I'll have to think about it some before I come back," thought Lin Feng. He initially just intended to scout it out anyways. Maybe he could ask Lang Yi about it. "I wonder who's inside though," whispered Lin Feng. Then, his silhouette flickered, and he went back to the Heaven clan. Lang Yi was outside his room, his eyes were closed, and he was absorbing strength of the earth and the sky as world energies surrounded him. Lin Feng landed next to him, making him open his eyes and say, "You came back." "I did." Lin Feng nodded and then sat down next to him and asked, "Do you know anything about the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan?" Celestial Evolution Holy Clan. Lang Yi looked surprised. "Of course I do. 1,000 years ago, they were a very aggressive holy clan in vast celestial ancient city. Unfortunately, they were destroyed back then. Their territory still exists here, but there's nothing left besides ruins." He was surprised that Lin Feng mentioned such a group. He had learnt from some memories that the everlasting celestial emperor had obtained some things from the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan, and then had become a great emperor afterwards. Of course, many people want to get the ancient scriptures of the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan, even some holy clans. The Celestial Evolution Holy Clan didn't study any ancient scriptures, but the evolution scriptures. Lang Yi continued to explain. "If the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan was so strong, who destroyed it?" asked Lin Feng. "Everything is a mystery now, but according to rumors, it could be the 3 Lives Great Emperor," said Lang Yi. Lin Feng unconsciously shivered. The 3 Lives Great Emperor? He knew so much about him already. Few people know how strong he really was, and nobody knows how old he is. Most people don't even know who he is, said Lang Yi after he saw that Lin Feng looked confused. Lin Feng remained silent. He had the 3 lives scriptures with him, so he already knew how terrifying they were. If anyone knew he had the 3 lives scriptures, they wouldn't hesitate to kill him. Even in this world, most people don't know who he is, thought Lin Feng. I'll practice the 3 lives scriptures, and I'll make sure that nobody knows about me either, thought Lin Feng. Why are you asking me about the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan? Asked Lang Yi. In the Dark Night region, a celestial emperor received deployment strength from someone there, which is why I came to vast celestial ancient city, explained Lin Feng. The Celestial Evolution Holy Clan has disappeared for so long, but you still received something concerning them that's interesting, said Lang Yi smiling. Yesterday evening I went there, and I noticed that there was someone hiding inside, said Lin Feng. That's even more interesting, considering the Moon Imperial Palace are showing themselves, and now someone appeared inside the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan, whispered Lang Yi. What was the link between the Moon Imperial Palace and the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan? No idea, but 1,000 years ago, the rumors said that the Moon Imperial Palace and the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan were close to each other, that the Moon Imperial Palace had obtained powerful ancient scriptures, the Evolution Holy Scriptures. Lang Yi said. Indeed, that's interesting, whispered Lin Feng. The 3 lives Great Emperor, the Moon Imperial Palace, the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan. Something linked those groups. Of course, it's just interesting, nothing more. This morning, Song Xiao came by and said that some monstrously strong cultivators from the other main cities are on their way to vast celestial ancient city too. Some of them even have terrifying body types, said Lang Yi to Lin Feng excitedly. Lin Feng could tell that Lang Yi wanted to fight, which made him smile. King body type. There can't be that many people with king body types in the Dark Night region, whispered Lin Feng. He realized that Jun Mo's imperial immortal body was something unheard of in the small world, so the people there didn't value him as much as they would here. I wonder how Jun Mo is doing. It's been so many years, he must be so far, thought Lin Feng. He had been in the great world for 7-8 years already. And what about you? If she misses me, why doesn't she look for me? Thought Lin Feng sighing. She was only interested in cultivation, so she couldn't stay with friends all the time. Lin Feng didn't leave for 2 more days. He stayed with Wuxia, and they didn't do much besides cultivating and relaxing in the room. Lin Feng was worried when Wuxia became controlled by her other personality. He almost felt scared of her at times. On that day, at the main city gate of vast celestial ancient city, a young man was standing at the top, gazing into the distance. He was surrounded by 360 ancient imprint lights, which contained a terrifying strength. At the same time, in the ancient capital, there were scorching suns which forced people to raise their heads and squint their eyes. In another place, someone else appeared. He was surrounded by a gray chi which acted as a fog, cloaking him along with his black robe. All sorts of people landed in vast celestial ancient city. They came from places all over the region of Dark Night. Outside of the city, above the lake, a silhouette appeared wearing a Taoist robe, with the demeanor of a transcendent being. He didn't seem to be a Taoist monk though. His look seemed fierce and aggressive like a warrior. Good heavens! The Taoist smiled and continued flying towards the center of vast celestial ancient city. Chapter 1674. Many strong cultivators together outside of a room in the Heaven Clan. Lang Yi and Lin Feng were gazing into the distance. They watched some silhouettes land by a lake inside the Heaven Clan territory. After a short time, Song Xiao came to Lin Feng and Lang Yi, smiling at Lang Yi and saying, "The Moon Imperial Palace has appeared by Ice Moon Lake. Let's go." Lang Yi nodded and followed. Lin Feng looked back at the room to Wuxia. Lin Feng nodded at Wuxia. Then he also left with the others. Wuxia watched them disappear looking sad. The feeling is getting more intense. Will she appear? Thought Wuxia, after she sensed the terrifying mercilessness energy around her. The Ice Moon Lake was a gigantic lake in vast celestial ancient city. The water resembled a moon, and it was ice cold, hence the name. In a pavilion near the lake, there were some beautiful women dancing, looking like illusions. The crowd listened to the music and saw a silhouette approaching in the distance. That person was holding a zither. Prince Qin Shang. The crowd recognized the prince. Prince Qin Shang wasn't very strong. He hadn't even broken through to the Huangqi layer yet. But he was famous in vast celestial ancient city. Qin Shang landed by the lake. He had his 10 fingers resting on his instrument. Celestial creatures dancing. I would like to enjoy the show from inside the pavilion. Someone laughed. Prince, don't be too impatient. The celestial beings need to dress up first. When a free boat comes by, you can have your fun then. Alright, good. I can't wait, said Qin Shang in a gentle way. Bai Qi from the Bai clan is here too, thought the crowd, gazing towards some powerful energies in the distance. The energies disappeared, but suddenly, it became extremely hot, like a sun was approaching them. The Holy Sun clan is here too. Qin Shang looked at his ancient zither, not even glancing at the person who had landed. Of course, the Moon Imperial Palace is here, said the young man in the sky. In the northern part, a silhouette in gray clothes flew forwards, not releasing any chi at all. The ancient witchcraft clan is also interested in seeing the Moon Imperial Palace. The young man from the Holy Sun clan was looking at the person in the gray clothes. The person in the gray clothes nodded at him before he put his hood down, showing his face. He was very young, very pale, and looked erudite. The Heaven clan is here too, thought the crowd. Song Xiao was there. Lang Yi and Lin Feng were with him. Who are those people next to Song Xiao? They're not from the Heaven clan, thought some people. When the young man from the Chu clan saw Lang Yi, he looked surprised. A king body type traveling. Look over there. There was a young man wearing a 7-colored robe, and there were dazzling vines around him which looked like imprints. It's Duga who never loses, said someone in the crowd. It was said that Guda the winner possessed the imprint king body, which meant that after breaking through to the Huangqi layer, 3,600 imprints would appear around him. Apart from them, more and more geniuses appeared, but they weren't as heroic as those people. Amongst those people, the most prestigious one was the guy from the Chu clan. Song Xiao, Prince Qin Shang and Bai Qi were still weaker than him. The young man from the Holy Sun clan was not from vast celestial ancient city, so nobody knew exactly how strong he was. The young man from the ancient witchcraft clan was also quite mysterious. Nobody knew Lin Feng or Lang Yi either. Lin Feng was standing next to Lang Yi, glancing around. He felt excited after seeing all those geniuses appearing. Being surrounded by so many strong cultivators was incredible, and helped Lin Feng better understand just how strong those clans really were. Beautiful women were still dancing, but one of them broke the mold. She smiled and jumped onto an ancient boat. After traversing the waves, she arrived on the shore. The beautiful woman smiled at the crowd and said, "There are many ancient groups here, but only 9 people can get on the boats, so apart from me, only 8 people can join. Who would like to join me?" If only 8 people can get on the boat at a time, will it come back and forth a few times? Asked someone. The woman smiled and shook her head. There aren't so many girls in Moon Palace, so we can't receive too many people. Sorry for the inconvenience. The crowd looked dejected. The Moon Palace was too cruel. On the first day, only 8 people could join them? There were so many people from holy clans there. So how could normal people have a chance? Holy Sun clan Yang Yan. The young man of the Holy Sun clan walked forwards and jumped onto the boat. Chu clan, Chu Chunqiu. The young man of the Chu clan jumped onto the boat. Dugu clan, Dugu the winner. The young man with the imprint body jumped onto the boat. Ancient witchcraft clan. Call me the ancient sorcerer, said the young man from the ancient witchcraft clan. Quickly, there were already 4 people on the boat. Let's go, whispered Lang Yi. Then Lin Feng, Lang Yi and Song Xiao were above the boat. Qin Shang and Bai Qi glanced at each other. There was only one spot left. The 2 of them jumped onto the boat at the same time. They were now 10 people on the boat with the girl from the Moon Imperial Palace. Someone needs to leave the boat, said the girl as she smiled thinly. Many people were looking at Lang Yi and Lin Feng, because they didn't know who they were. Many people were even angry. Those 2 strangers dared get on the boat with those outstanding individuals from the ancient clans? Yang Yan, and the others looked at Lang Yi and Lin Feng. Song Xiao had brought those people. Heaven Clan, there's someone who needs to leave, said Yang Yin to Lang Yi. Ancient World Clan Lang Yi, said Lang Yi in a calm and serene way. People frowned. That guy was also from an ancient clan. Lang Yi from the World Clan. Yang Yin was surprised. Lang Yi had a king body, so nobody could argue with him. Chapter 1675. Fighting against Yang Yin. The World Clan has been discreet for so many years, but finally, they're starting to make an appearance again, thought some people. The World Clan was mysterious, having disappeared from the world for such a long time. They had been gone for even longer than the Moon Imperial Palace, and now one of their disciples with a king body had appeared in vast celestial ancient city. Surprisingly, a guy from the World Clan with a king body is here. There are 2 people with king bodies now. Apart from them, Chu Chunxiu was strong too. Nobody could kick him out. Lin Feng looked calm, even though he knew that everyone was looking at him. In terms of wealth, he couldn't compare to those young people. But he was interested in the relationship which existed between the Moon Imperial Palace and the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan. He wanted to know more about that. Since he was in vast celestial ancient city, he was bound to face some challenges at some point, and he didn't intend to get off the boat, so he knew what came next. At that moment, Song Xiao looked at Lin Feng and smiled indifferently. Lin Feng, you can come next time. Song Xiao smiled politely and nicely, because Lin Feng had come to the Heaven Clan with Lang Yi. He was a guest of honor in the Heaven Clan, but Lin Feng wasn't Lang Yi. He wasn't from an ancient clan. When the others heard him, they remained silent and looked at Lin Feng calmly as well. Since Song Xiao had asked him to get off the boat, it meant that Lin Feng wasn't important enough to stay on it, which meant that he was probably going to get off the boat. In their opinion, Song Xiao, Lang Yi and Lin Feng had come together, so Lin Feng had to listen to them. But Lin Feng slowly turned around and smiled at Song Xiao. He looked very friendly but not very polite. He felt uncomfortable though. He had come with them. So why didn't Song Xiao try to make the others leave? What did he have against Lin Feng? Even if he had talked politely, it was still humiliating for Lin Feng. Song Xiao had no reason to make Lin Feng leave, and even Lang Yi frowned. Lin Feng had come with him, and they were good friends. Song Xiao was being rude and impolite, but Lang Yi didn't say anything, however. It wasn't something too dramatic. Lin Feng could solve the issue himself. Lin Feng smiled at Song Xiao indifferently and said, I'm not waiting until next time. Song Xiao's smile suddenly turned rigid. All right, as you wish. Because Lang Yi and Lin Feng were friends, Song Xiao couldn't argue with him. He was just annoyed. Name, and where are you from? Asked Yang Yin to Lin Feng. A gigantic sun was already moving towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng, I don't belong to any group, said Lin Feng. His eyes were pitch black. Oh. Yang Yan's fire was getting more intense. Suddenly the fireball exploded. Lin Feng found the energies to be a bit painful, forcing him back a little. He doesn't have a group and still dares to get on the boat, said Yang Yan. The corner of his mouth curled upwards. The others remained silent and calm as they looked at Lin Feng. That guy had to understand that he had to leave the boat. Lin Feng looked at Yang Yan and suddenly, he started moving like the wind. Huh. Yang Yan was surprised that Lin Feng was attacking him. Flames of fury emerged from Yang Yan's eyes, and his suns became incomparably bright. Die, said a voice carrying demon intent. Lin Feng was fearless as he faced the gigantic sun. Break, shouted Lin Feng. The sky shook as the sun broke apart. Lang Yi also started moving and world lights appeared, making so that the boat didn't swing at all. Boom boom. The 2 people moved away from each other. Yang Yin jumped off the boat, floating in the air. It felt like his hand was broken from their previous exchange. Lin Feng was still on the boat, inside Lang Ye's world lights. Lin Feng smiled at him indifferently. The only decent thing about you is the name of your clan. Kacha. Yang Yin summoned another sun which surrounded him. Then he shouted, Come here. Lin Feng slowly rose up in the air and faced Yang Yin. Interesting, thought many people who looked amused. Yang Yin had studied the Sun ancient scriptures, so it wasn't surprising that his attacks were so explosive. Yang Yin stretched out his arm, and another gigantic sun streaked across the sky. Yang Yan's sun scriptures are a lot better than the cosmos-burning sun technique I studied. But that's not surprising because they were only Tian-level scriptures, thought Lin Feng. The lights from the sun were blinding as they neared Lin Feng. At the same time the sun was moving, Yang Yin also moved, a red sun appearing in his hand as he ran towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't know how to react to this onslaught. He couldn't only rely on his demon strength, otherwise, he'd have no chance of winning. It was rare for him to face such strong people. He stretched out his hand and destructive energies flushed, making his hand look black and thick. Die! Lin Feng's lights and the sun collided. Right after the exchange, Yang Yin moved his other hand, and another sun appeared. If it reached Lin Feng's head, his head would explode. Celestial death curtain, said Lin Feng, moving his other hand as well. Terrifying energies moved towards the sun again. Then the hot and death energies collided and exploded. Your attacks aren't bad, said Yang Yin, smiling coldly. He released another sun, even more terrifying than the previous. Around him, several more suns appeared too. You're from a holy clan and yet you're only an average fighter. Lin Feng mocked. Suddenly, he released sword energies. Back on the boat, most of the group were surprised. Lin Feng was quite strong. He could even compete with Yang Yin. Besides, he didn't look scared at all. Even Song Xiao was surprised. Lin Feng really was terrifying. Was he a hermit? Otherwise, he couldn't have come to the Heaven Clan with Lang Yi. Please stop fighting, said the girl from the Moon Imperial Palace. She slowly rose up in the air and smiled at Lin Feng and Yang Yin. You can't get hurt because of such a small thing. We'll make an exception. You can both come on the boat. Yang Yin looked at her and smiled. All right, it would be rude for me to offend the Moon Imperial Palace, so I won't kill him. Lin Feng was surprised. Kill him? It's good when people know how to behave though. Lin Feng retorted, making Yang Yin look furious again. All right, please don't fight anymore, said the woman, smiling wryly. Yang Yin groaned coldly. Then, they all landed back on the boat. The woman smiled and asked Lin Feng. Prince, you used several types of abstruse energies before. Do you have a special body? My body type allows me to learn 10 types of abstruse energies, replied Lin Feng, smiling. Then he landed on the boat. Chapter 1676. Enemies 10 types of abstruse energies. The woman from the Moon Imperial Palace was amazed. Not only her, but the entire crowd was surprised. Very few people had a body, which allowed them to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies. Many people had to give up most types of energies after they broke through to the Huang Qi layer. Usually, people's energies became weaker as they became stronger. However, those who had a body which allowed them to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies could make their energies level up indefinitely. Of course, people who could study 10 types of abstruse energies and could make them fuse together were even rarer. Lin Feng had a body which allowed him to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies, and his energy fusions were perfect. He wasn't weaker than Yang Yin. After breaking through to the Huang Qi layer, maybe that he would become less good at making abstruse energies fuse together. Everybody, if you argue amongst each other, I won't be happy, said the woman from the Moon Imperial Palace, shaking her head. Then, she slowly walked towards the pavilion on the lake. The girls there looked nervous. They wanted to find a boyfriend amongst those geniuses. After a short time, the geniuses on the boat made it to the pavilion, and then the girls stopped dancing. Please come, said the women. They calmly followed the women and glanced around. They quickly realized that the ground was changing as they moved ahead. Even the lake was disappearing. They were actually in a palace, but they didn't realize it yet. Progressively, the crowd sensed that they were falling into darkness. There was a slight wind, stars, a moon. It really felt like they weren't in a palace, but outside on a beautiful night. There were many pavilions in front of them, each of which were connected. In each pavilion, there was a woman leaning against a balustrade, looking at the moon. These are the celestial women of our group. You can make friends with them if you'd like, said the beautiful woman who had taken the crowd there. Then, she walked backwards, and everybody gazed into the distance. They couldn't see the faces of those beautiful women, but they could guess that they were extremely beautiful. Beautiful like in a dream, whispered Qin Shang sighing. There were 9 women waiting there for them. Lin Feng suddenly noticed one of them, and she looked familiar. He slowly walked towards the pavilion and sat down. Run, the celestial girl, said Lin Feng. The beautiful woman turned around and smiled at him. Lin Feng knows her? Thought Lang Yi surprised. Lin Feng had immediately called that girl by her name, which must have meant that he knew her. Interesting. They had never seen Lin Feng in vast celestial ancient city before, and now he knew a girl from the Moon Imperial Palace. How beautiful she looks, so sexy. I like that kind of girl. I bet she's really good in bed, thought Yang Yan. He then walked to the pavilion in which Lin Feng was already at. The girl smiled thinly, looking as beautiful as before. Long time no see, said Run Lei in a gentle way. Lin Feng was confused. What was Run Lei doing there in the Moon Imperial Palace? How should I call you, celestial girl? Asked Yang Yan as he smiled at Run Lei. Call me Run, said Run Lei smiling back. Run, the celestial girl. Yang Yan couldn't take his eyes away from Run Lei. The Moon Imperial Palace has thousands of people, but I've heard that the celestial women from the Moon Imperial Palace are incredible. I wonder if we could, said Yang Yan smiling as before. If you express the wish to. No need to look at her. Lin Feng poured alcohol in 2 glasses and gave one to Run Lei. Run Lei took the glass and smiled at Lin Feng. She's already mine. Go and find someone else, said Lin Feng, raising his glass at Run Lei. He didn't even glance at Yang Yan. How arrogant. I gave you face and now you're still acting rude, said Yang Yan, grabbing the jar of alcohol and setting it on fire. Piss off, said Lin Feng, slowly turning around to look at Yang Yan. Yang Yan frowned and suddenly released fire energies. They glanced at each other. They looked like a demon and a fire god. Yang Yan's looked into Lin Feng's eyes, feeling the 9 netherworld's water flowing into his body. Die, said Lin Feng, sounding like a demon. Suddenly, Yang Yan closed his eyes and stood up. He opened his eyes again and suddenly, flames came out of them. Lin Feng then ignored him and took out his own alcohol. He said indifferently, How long are you going to stay here? Very good, said Yang Yan, hammering the table with his fist. Then he turned around and left. Lin Feng had defeated him, so he wasn't very happy. After Yang Yan left, the table he had set on fire was bright red. Run Lei looked at Lin Feng, thinking inwardly that he was the same as he was in the past. When did you arrive here? Asked Lin Feng. She looked angry and released ice energies onto the fire to extinguish it. 2 years, said Run Lei smiling. 2 years. Lin Feng was surprised and asked, Are you leaving with me? Run Lei shook her head and smiled. Back then we agreed. After the 100 days we'd each have our own path. What kind of cultivators does the Moon Imperial Palace raise? Asked Lin Feng. My love, you're worried, said Run Lei smiling. The Moon Imperial Palace is different from what you think. If you don't believe me, you can look at the others. At that moment, the men were already in several pavilions. Lin Feng glanced around at the girls, noting that they were all incredibly beautiful, but their chi was different from Run Lei's. Different chi but beautiful, whispered Lin Feng. Run Lei smiled and nodded. You all think of yourself as hunters, but you don't know how many of you hunters have turned into prey. If even one of you fails, then the Moon Imperial Palace wins. Lin Feng frowned. Indeed, those people were from ancient clans, and they were extraordinary, not to mention their powerful ancient scriptures. Chapter 1677, Clash of the Kings. It's time. Run Lei's robe fluttered as she ran towards the lake. The other celestial women did the same, and appeared above the water. They were all wearing white robes, resembling white lotuses. The young men in the pavilions were captivated by them. Can they really be mortal beings? Thought some young men. They had seen many beautiful women in their lives, but these women were top existences. Lin Feng looked at them. Run Lei would look at him from time to time. Lin Feng had to hold himself back from hugging her and never letting her go. A palace appeared in the air above them, the Moon Palace. The 9 celestial women flew into the air and entered the palace, and after a short time, the palace disappeared with them. Now the crowd could only remember them. Beautiful, said Lin Feng, smiling indifferently. When the crowd realized that the women were gone, they also realized they couldn't follow them. You also knew her name, whispered Lang Yi, smiling wryly. That woman was so beautiful, but she looked cold at times. Usually nobody knows the celestial women's names, not even I can know their names, whispered Qin Shang. After having seen those women, the young men felt strange. Even Qin Shang couldn't stop thinking about them. Gentlemen, the women are gone. If you want to see them again, you'll have to wait, said a beautiful woman outside the pavilion. Run, whispered Lin Feng. He smiled wryly and stood up. Run Lei was special and had a place in Lin Feng's heart. She was one of the 4 most beautiful women of Ba Huang. Lin Feng couldn't forget about her, especially those days he had spent with her. Those days with her were incredible, making love all day and chatting about various things. Those memories were amongst the most beautiful in his life. The crowd left Moon Imperial Palace feeling like they had just dreamed it all. Outside the pavilions, many people were waiting to hear what had happened. I wouldn't have thought that a cultivator with the World King body and another one with the Godly Imprint King body would be here today. Unfortunately, I was too late, so I hadn't managed to participate, said someone on the edge of the lake. That friendly-looking young man was wearing a 9-colored robe. Prince of Sadness. Everybody looked at him in a friendly way. Prince of Sadness, you're here. The celestial women have waited a long time, said the woman, walking to the Prince of Sadness. She smiled and said, I wouldn't want to make any of them sad. I'll immediately go back to the Moon Palace. Please, the Prince of Sadness said politely. We'll meet again, said the Prince of Sadness, smiling at the young men. Then, he looked at Lin Feng and said, It's an honor for me to see someone who understands 10 different types of abstruse energies. Brother Lin Feng, Gu can also control 10 types of abstruse energies. To me, you're all heroes. Thank you very much, said Lin Feng, nodding and smiling at the Prince of Sadness. He was a strange guy. Please everyone, said the woman to the crowd. Then, she left with the Prince of Sadness. The crowd was surprised. The Prince of Sadness could freely go to the Moon Palace? After the woman left, Lang Yi looked at Lin Feng. The person he's talking about, Gu, was an insane cultivator who lived thousands of years ago. Many people admired him for his talents and for his love for battling, just like you. But at some point, he disappeared, and nobody knows where he is nowadays. 10 types of abstruse energies, whispered Lin Feng, and then he smiled. Vast celestial ancient city had a history of prodigies. As an example, there were 2 people in the crowd right now who had special bodies, a World King body and a Godly Imprint King body. But nobody dared underestimate the others. For example, Chu Chun Qiu, he could absorb others' determination. At that moment, energy suddenly crashed onto Lang Ye's body. Duga the winner, who had a Godly Imprint King body, was challenging Lang Yi. Let's fight, said Duga the winner, moving towards a pavilion on Ice Moon Lake. 360 ancient imprints rotated around his body, each one containing a terrifying strength. Lang Yi had a World King body, so he didn't fear him. He jumped forwards and ran towards Duga the winner at full speed. A battle between King-type body cultivators. The crowd frowned. This would certainly be a clash of titans. Chu Chun Qiu jumped forwards as well, wanting to watch. Interesting. Yang Yin smiled and rose up in the air. He didn't want to miss the battle either. Lin Feng rose up in the air too, and moved like the wind. At that moment, 360 ancient imprints were rotating around the Godly Imprint King body like dazzling stars. Lang Ye's black robe was fluttering as world lights shined around him. Go! Shouted Duga the winner, shaking his hand. In a flash, the Godly imprints were intertwining, and turned into a golden hand, which was directed in Lang Ye's direction. Lang Yi jumped forwards as world lights flashed ahead. The golden hand crashed into the world lights and disappeared. Boom! Duga the winner jumped forwards, causing waves to thrash about on the lake. He suddenly closed the gap between him and Lang Yi. Then his 360 ancient imprint lights began intertwining again. Godly imprint king body, 360 imprint lights. Once he breaks through to the Huangqi layer, he'll be even more terrifying with 3,600 ancient imprints, thought Lin Feng. Chapter 1678. Godly imprint king body. By the Ice Moon Lake, there was a waterfall, and even a whirlpool. Imprint lights appeared around Dugu the winner. 360 of these ancient imprint lights appeared, and started rotating around him. It's raining mountains, they oppress everything. That's an imperial imprint. It can turn into a deadly stroke, which could be used to kill even emperors. Indestructible imprints which violate the laws of physics. How terrifying. The ancient Dugu clan really are the best at controlling imprints, especially when they possess the king body of the clan, thought the crowd. World king body, he's extremely strong. World lights appeared all around Lang Yi. The world lights were mysterious while they looked deadly. They surrounded all the imprints, and then it started raining energies. They weren't moving yet. They were just releasing energies and testing the waters. Suddenly, terrifying imprints reappeared all around Dugu the winner. At the same time, a gigantic swastika talisman appeared in the sky. Those are Buddhist imprints, thought the crowd. The gigantic swastika descended from the sky, making Lang Yi look tiny next to it. The imprint king body allows a person to control gold energy, and even though it hasn't turned into cosmic energy yet, but he'll probably break through to the Huangqi layer when they do, thought Lin Feng. Gold abstruse energies are good for attacks, but when a cultivator who has a godly imprint king body uses them, they become explosive. The difference between ordinary people and strong cultivators was even greater once they started using abstruse energies and cosmic energies. Apart from the ancient Buddhist imprints, many other terrifying imprints appeared, assaulting the world lights. Finally, Lang Yi reappeared with the celestial ancient coffin in his hand. As it rose to the sky, two different types of strength appeared. World strength is very strange, so I'm sure that the world clan's king body is quite powerful, said Dugu the winner. His 360 imprint lights slightly faded. The Dugu clan's godly imprint king body is not bad either, said Lang Yi calmly. He had protected himself this far, so he was satisfied. He had seen the godly imprint king body. Chu Chunxiu's strength is his ancient imperial intent. The Holy Sun clan have terrifying explosive sun attacks. The ancient witchcraft clan have mysterious powers. The young people from the other clans and sects from vast celestial ancient city will also have no problem breaking through to the Huangqi layer, thought Lang Yi. He had also meant to include Lin Feng, who had a special body, which allowed him to use 10 types of abstruse energies. And then Meng Qing, who was from the Snow clan, and also possessed a special body type. That generation didn't lack strong young cultivators. Only in the end will we be able to see who the true winners are between those of us with special bodies. Dugu the winner looked solemn and respectful. With that, he rose up in the air and recalled his energies. Then he disappeared. It's not only between people who possess a special body, it's between everyone, said Lang Yi, gazing into the distance at Song Xiao and the others. The battle was over, but the crowd didn't feel pleased. They wanted to see more. The world king body and the godly imprint king body were incredibly rare, let alone to be facing each other. Lin Feng felt very enthusiastic. He glanced at Yang Yan, who was also staring back at him. Not everybody has a body which allows them to control 10 different types of abstruse energies. But even then, you cannot begin to imagine how powerful ancient holy clans are. Having said that, you relied on yourself, which isn't bad, said Yang Yan before he rose up in the air. Lin Feng didn't look at him. He glanced at Chu Chunxiu and the young man from the ancient witchcraft clan, both of whom looked calm, but still, Lin Feng didn't underestimate them. Even Qin Shang and Bai Qi seemed strong. The crowd dispersed, leaving only Lang Yi, Lin Feng, and Song Xiao. The Moon Imperial Palace has officially reappeared in vast celestial ancient city. I'm sure they will invite even more young people, said Song Xiao, smiling indifferently. He was very interested in the celestial girls of the Moon Imperial Palace. If he could get one of them for himself, he'd incredibly happy. Not just the girl, but the Moon Imperial Palace also had incredible ancient imperial books. Let's go back, said Lang Yi in a calm way. Then, they both rose up in the air and left. Back in the Heaven Clan's territory, Lang Yi, Song Xiao and some other people were walking together, arriving where Lin Feng and Lang Yi were staying. Lang Yi, I've been staying in the Heaven Clan for quite a while already, and I feel like I'm disturbing you here. So I'll be leaving with my wife, said Lin Feng to Lang Yi. He wasn't friends with those people, and he had the feeling that they didn't want him to stay there. Back on the boat, Song Xiao had asked Lin Feng to get down, which he still wasn't happy thinking about that. All right, I'll leave with you then, said Lang Yi nodding. He understood how Lin Feng felt. If he had been Lin Feng, he would have done the same. Brother Lin, Brother Lang Yi, is there anything making you feel unhappy? The Heaven Clan is gigantic, so if you need more space, we can show you other rooms, said Song Xiao. His facial expression suddenly changed when he heard them. Then he smiled at Lin Feng and said, Brother Lin, if I did something wrong, please forgive me. Lin Feng perfectly understood why Song Xiao acted that way, but Lin Feng just smiled and said, Thank you. I have things to do though. I'm off. Song Xiao was being nice even though he had a higher social status than Lin Feng. But Lin Feng couldn't stay there the whole time. Lin Feng then started leaving. Who does he think he is? Said Song Yu. His facial expression changed drastically. Lin Feng was humiliating him by declining his invitation. Lin Feng heard him but ignored him. Lang Yi remained speechless as well. Song Yu also tried to call on him, but Lang Yi had brought Lin Feng, so he wanted to leave with him. Xiao Yu Xian came to Lin Feng as Lang Yi asked Song Xiao, Please say goodbye to Song Ling for me. I'm off. Then the three of them left. Lin Feng will see, said Song Yu in a cold way, feeling humiliated as well. No need. If he wants to leave, then he can. He's not our prisoner. It turns out that he's extraordinary, which explains why Lang Yi and Lin Feng are such good friends. If he doesn't offend us, don't attack him, said Song Xiao calmly. Song Yu was unhappy and groaned coldly. Lin Feng and Lang Yi left and found a place to land. They could do whatever they wanted if they weren't at the Heaven Clan. The only problem was that they couldn't hear much about the outside world if they secluded themselves. Lin Feng was still a bit worried that Yiren Lei was with the Moon Imperial Palace. Later that night, Lin Feng was walking around on his own, looking at the sky. A silhouette descended from the sky with 360 imprint lights around them. That was the godly imprint king body, Dugu the Winner. Lin Feng and Dugu the Winner weren't enemies, so what was that guy doing? Chapter 1679. Celestial Evolution. Holy Scriptures in the air. Dugu the Winner remained silent and said nothing. He jumped forwards, his ancient imprints launching at Lin Feng. Lin Feng condensed demon energy in his hand and punched the air in Dugu the Winner's direction. In a flash, the ancient imprints broke, and Dugu the Winner landed in front of Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at him in a cold way. What was wrong with Dugu the Winner? They weren't enemies, so why was that guy attacking him? Lin Feng released sword chi which tore apart the imprints, causing explosions to resonate in all directions. Lin Feng felt the pressure as Dugu rushed over to him, his Buddhist imprints leading the charge. Lin Feng rose up in the air, attacking the ancient imprints using his great earth destruction. The imprints broke apart, and Lin Feng shouted furiously, You're not Dugu the Winner. Lin Feng had seen Dugu the Winner and Lang Yi fight. He knew what his energies felt like. Dugu the Winner was extremely strong, but the person he was fighting against now had something different. Lin Feng felt like he had already seen those eyes. It's you. Lin Feng recognized the eyes from when he went to the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan. Not only were they pretending to be Dugu the Winner, they were actually using the 360 imprints. That guy could imitate other people's attacks. Could it be the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures? Thought Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't have time to think though, he had to react quickly. Attack! Lin Feng used his sword energies again. Gigantic canyons formed all around, however. His opponent was smiling in a cold way, like he wasn't under any pressure. Suddenly, millions of clones appeared, seemingly millions of imprints filling the night sky. Lin Feng started feeling dizzy looking at them all. Illusion. Lin Feng's eyes became pitch black as he jumped above. His sword qi descended, destroying the illusion and leaving a gigantic crater beneath him. After the illusion fell apart, terrifying suns suddenly appeared. Sunlight. Lin Feng frowned as he saw a sun moving towards him. Lin Feng used his desolate Xana attack this time, causing the sun to explode. Lin Feng then released more demon intent. As Lin Feng landed on the ground, the earth beneath him exploded, turning into a cage to trap him. As soon as the cage started to trigger, Emperor Wu Tianjian's sword intent flooded out, instantly overwhelming the cage and making it break apart. Fissures appeared in the air and the ground. However, in the next moment, Lin Feng's opponent was already running away at full speed. Lin Feng looked at his opponent. He was still facing him as he ran backwards. To make things even stranger, he was still smiling. He hadn't managed to kill Lin Feng. And given Lin Feng's speed, he probably wouldn't be able to hold out much longer. However, numerous clones flooded the sky, making it impossible to guess which one was the real one. Lin Feng glanced around and stopped moving. There were too many clones to attack. He's so fast. If I had known that before, I would have used my talismans from the start, thought Lin Feng. That guy isn't any weaker than those who have king bodies, thought Lin Feng. It wouldn't be a lie to say that this guy was one of the most terrifying cultivators Lin Feng had ever fought against. At that moment, a strong wind blew and a cultivator appeared. It was Lang Yi. What's wrong? Asked Lang Yi. I encountered a terrifying cultivator who could use the skills and techniques of the godly imprint king body and the 360 imprint lights, amongst other skills we've seen recently. I think he has the ability to imitate people's attacks, said Lin Feng. Lang Yi frowned. I find it surprising to hear that you met such a cultivator. I think I've seen him before. Lin Feng continued. I think it might be the person I saw in the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan. I told you about that already. It's him, thought Lang Yi, looking more surprised. Should we go to the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan and see? Asked Lang Yi. That's what I want to do, said Lin Feng, nodding. Then, they both started flying in the direction of the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan. Lin Feng didn't know that at that moment, Qiu Yuxian was shaking violently as a terrifying mercilessness energy was rising to the skies. No! Qiu Yuxian felt very cold and her face started looking distorted. Finally her eyes changed and she started walking. A silhouette appeared in front of her. She looked beautiful, even perfect. She had a veil covering her face though. That silhouette stopped not far from her. Qiu Yuxian walked to that mysterious woman. The mysterious woman turned around and started leaving. Qiu Yuxian followed her silently, neither of them saying anything. Lin Feng didn't know about that. He was with Lang Yi, and they were heading towards the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan. As they approached the clan, they realized that many other people were going there too. Nothing has been heard from the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan for such a long time, and now some people are trying to make it rise again, said someone next to Lin Feng and Lang Yi. I don't know who's doing it, but one thing's for sure, the clan hasn't been completely destroyed. Only members of the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan can activate the deployment spell, and they must be at least core disciples, said someone else. The other one nodded. I've heard that they might have been hiding underground. Lin Feng and Lang Yi accelerated. Finally, they arrived on the site of the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan, but they were astonished at what they found. Instead of ruins, there were ancient palaces, and though the the buildings looked pristine and beautiful. Is that the ancient Celestial Evolution Holy Palace? Whispered Lin Feng. It must be one of the main palaces. The others have definitely been destroyed, said Lang Yi. Chapter 1680. Ancient Holy Clan. The Celestial Evolution Holy Palace has existed for thousands of years. I wonder if there are treasures inside, thought Lin Feng. He gazed into the distance, and some qi approaching them quickly. People raised their heads, and saw a middle-aged man wearing a white robe, capable of crossing thousands of meters in the blink of an eye. The master of the Heaven clan is here, thought the crowd. That's Tsang Ling's elder. His strength is unfathomable, said Lang Yi to Lin Feng. The Celestial Evolution Holy Palace attracted many strong cultivators. Tsang Ling's elder represented the Heaven clan, so he made an appearance for his clan. Boom! At the same moment, the sky became distorted elsewhere. The almighty cultivator of the Chu clan is here, said Lang Yi. Lin Feng glanced at him. Chu Chunxiu's qi was similar, but that person's qi was just infinitely more powerful than Chu Chunxiu's. He was probably a celestial emperor. Following them, many more terrifying cultivators arrived. Lin Feng noticed one cultivator, who was surrounded by millions of shadows. That was probably a strong cultivator from the Dugu clan. As expected, those people immediately ran towards the main hall of the great palace. The crowd watched as terrifying energies and threads of godly awareness invaded the palace, all attempting to find treasures. Good heavens, the holy palace has reappeared, so there must be treasures inside. However, the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan has disappeared for 1,000 years now, so stealing their treasures won't be easy, said a Taoist monk. Huh? Lin Feng gazed into the distance. Why did that guy appear each time treasures appeared? Master, you're not dead, asked Lin Feng. Yin Di smiled at Lin Feng and said, You're still alive, so why would I be dead? You can leave the forbidden area alive. You're even more resilient than I thought, said Lin Feng. Places which house people are not really forbidden areas, said Yin Di. He then looked at the central part of the palace, where a terrifying energy was emerging from. What kind of oppressive and destructive strength is that? Thought Lin Feng, shivering. His face turned pale as he looked at the main palace. As I said, it won't be easy to get any treasures, said Yin Di. His facial expression didn't change. He even looked amused. People around him rolled their eyes, thinking, that guy is still in the mood to joke? Destructive energies gradually filled the air. The incredible cultivators who had gone to the main palace came back now, rise through the air. Finally, after they flew dozens of meters into the air, the destructive energies disappeared. None of them dared go back down. After a short time, they all left in different directions without saying anything. Everybody, now is the right time to get precious treasures. Why isn't anybody else doing anything? Asked Yin Di to the crowd. Some people glanced at him in a cold way. I won't take anything, but I'll go inside and have a look, said Yin Di, smiling. Then, the crowd watched him fly towards the central palace. Damn, thought Lin Feng. Yin Di dared go inside, but Lin Feng wasn't worried. Instead, he was confident in Yin Di's experience. As expected, after a while nothing happened. Some people released their godly awareness and found that the Taoist monk looked at ease inside. He was currently stealing treasures. Humph! An emperor groaned and ran towards the palace. If that Taoist monk could go inside, why not him? After he got in, the crowd saw that nothing was happening, and more people decided to give it a try. Let's go, said Lin Feng to Lang Yi. Then, they both went in the direction of the main palace. Inside the main palace, they found a chessboard which had the force of 7 stars. That chessboard is an ancient deployment spell, we can't activate it, whispered Lin Feng. There were many pieces on the chessboard, and moving them would probably have disastrous consequences. Maybe the strong cultivators from before had moved them. Above the chessboard were black lights. What is that item? Thought some people. That's the Celestial Evolution chessboard of the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan, said Yin Di, as if it was a matter of fact. It could be the Celestial Evolution chessboard, but since I've never seen it, I can't be sure, whispered Lang Yi. How do you know if that's the real Celestial Evolution chessboard and not a copy? Asked a strong cultivator. I can't be sure either. Also, there are sure to be the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures inside, said Yin Di, pointing deeper inside. If you think the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures are inside, why don't you go and take them? Asked a young man in a cold way. That was Chu Chunxiu. If the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures were inside, would you go and take them? Asked Yin Di to Chu Chunxiu indifferently. Of course I wouldn't. I'm leaving, said Chu Chunxiu. Then he turned around and left looking confident and at ease. I'm too weak, so I can't take the treasure. I'll go and take some other treasures, said Yendi. Then he turned around and left as well. People were angry. He had come in first, and now he was leaving already. Let's go too, said Lin Feng to Lang Yi. Following Yendi was the best thing to do. But when they left the main hall, a terrifying energy filled the air. Great emperors had appeared, pushing the cultivators already there away. They can help, thought Lin Feng. Arg! At that moment someone shouted furiously. A terrifying bestial chi rolled in waves. A powerful cultivator from a bestial clan has arrived, thought the crowd. Why do beasts want the celestial evolution holy scriptures? At that moment, 360 lights appeared next to Lin Feng and Lang Yi. It was Duga the winner. Chapter 1681. Great Bestial Emperor. What terrifying bestial chi! That must be a great imperial beast, thought Lin Feng. The celestial evolution holy scriptures have attracted a lot of strong cultivators. That beast is a gigantic and ancient lion. He's from one of the 3 incredible bestial clans of vast celestial ancient city. The other 2 haven't arrived yet it seems. Lang Yi explained. The animals with him are terrifying, and that girl. Lin Feng saw a beautiful woman. She was wearing a cyan dress. She had a beautiful figure, thin straight hair, and her eyebrows looked like crescent moons. She had a nose similar to Xueling Long. Not to mention that she had beautiful lips and breasts. If I'm not mistaken, that must be Qingfeng. I've heard that she possesses phoenix blood, whispered Lang Yi. Indeed, that's Qingfeng. Nobody really knows what kind of body she has though. In any case, she is extremely talented. Apparently, she can control several types of energies, and is considered the holy woman by most people. Duga the winner explained. Everybody, let's join hands and see if we can deactivate the deployment spell, asked a strong cultivator. All right, said the crowd. The weaker people moved away, not wanting to stand in the middle of those people's energies. Lin Feng and Lang Yi also moved away. This time, several great emperors were going to join hands, so the energies that spilt over might kill them. Let's start, shouted a strong cultivator. A gigantic hand descended from the sky. At the same time, the strong cultivator from the Chu clan released destructive imprints. The beast emperor roared furiously. All these destructive energies assaulted the central palace. Nothing could be heard except for the continuous explosions. The lights brought about from the energies were so bright that the crowd couldn't see either. When things finally calmed down, they looked at the palace, which was already destroyed, reduced to ashes. However, the deployment spell still hadn't disappeared. It was distorted and fluctuating, but in the end, it stabilized and turned into the ancient chessboard again. The chessboard was twinkling. Rays of lights were intertwining on it. How many layers are there in that celestial evolution great deployment spell? One layer has been destroyed, and the palace appeared. So why did the celestial evolution great deployment spell appear? Could that chessboard be the entrance to the small world of the celestial evolution holy clan? We're wasting our time here, said the beast cultivator unhappily. They couldn't break the deployment spell. That was now a fact. They rose up in the air and disappeared. The celestial evolution great deployment spell was surrounded by strange energies. Without a holy great emperor, we can't break the deployment spell, said Duga the winner. He didn't know why either though. Qingfeng, why are you not leaving? Asked the ancient beast to Qingfeng. However, Qingfeng landed in front of Duga the winner, Lang Yi and the others. Duga the winner. I've heard that a cultivator who can control 10 different sorts of abstruse energies appeared in the ancient capital. Who is he? Qingfeng asked. Lin Feng was standing right next to Duga the winner, but he didn't know what to say. Qingfeng was looking for someone with a body, which allowed him to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies. But why? Duga the winner pointed at Lin Feng. Then Qingfeng turned to Lin Feng. She said, you have a body which allows you to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies? Indeed. Lin Feng nodded. Come with me, said Qingfeng in a gentle way. Then she turned around and started walking away. Lin Feng was startled and asked, where are we going? To the beast clan, said Qingfeng. Lin Feng was under a lot of pressure with the great beast emperor there. Master, Please know that Lin Feng is a friend of the World Clan, said Lang Yi to the ancient beast. The ancient beast glanced at him and muttered, Ancient World King body. Don't worry, Qing Feng just wants to invite him as a guest, so we won't kill him, said the ancient lion. Lang Yi nodded and said, I trust you of course. Then, Lang Yi nodded at Lin Feng. Lin Feng had no choice anyways, so he followed Qing Feng, even though he didn't know why they were looking for someone with his abilities. Little boy, if you're in danger, just say that you have a body, which allows you to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies, said Yin Di to Lin Feng using telepathy. The Beast Clan was at the periphery of vast celestial ancient city. Their small world was vast and filled with forests, gigantic mountains, nature. Lin Feng followed Qing Feng silently. They arrived on a flight of stairs which led to a beast palace. Many young people were looking at Qing Feng, seemingly with amusement. Are you a human? Asked a young man whose fur was made of flames. Lin Feng nodded. That young man frowned. Why did you come here? She took me here, replied Lin Feng, shrugging. The young man looked at Qing Feng and asked, Qing Feng, why did you bring a human being? Qing Feng glanced at the young man and said coldly, Mind your own business, will you? Of course, but you know he hates it when you hang out with humans, said the young man. Piss off, shouted Qing Feng aggressively. Then he moved away while still looking at Lin Feng in a cold way. They arrived in a great hall filled with oppressive energies. A Lion King looked at Lin Feng and asked, Do you have a body which allows you to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies? Show me how many types of abstruse energies you control. Lin Feng said nothing and released abstruse energies. Demon, earth, death, flames, wind, and so on. The lion looked stoical and asked Qing Feng, What do you intend to do? I'm taking him with me, said Qing Feng. The great emperor nodded and said, Follow Qing Feng to her room. Chapter 1682. Geniuses cooperate. Qing Feng lived at the top of a mountain. Her house was simple-looking, situated near a lake. There was a wooden bridge over the lake which led to her house. Animals must like simplicity. Seeing how Qing Feng is a phoenix, she should like trees. But even though there are trees here, they don't seem that suitable for phoenixes, thought Lin Feng. He was wondering what kind of animal Qing Feng really was. She was beautiful, slim, and Lin Feng was standing next to her, but had the feeling that she was very far away. On the lakeside, Qing Feng stopped and looked back at Lin Feng. She said in a gentle way, Show me the attack you used against Yang Yan. Lin Feng looked at her in a strange way and said, I'm not an actor. Qing Feng was surprised after she heard him. If you don't like acting, then let's fight, said Qing Feng. Then she became like water and turned into an illusion. She raised her hands and moved towards him at full speed. However, Lin Feng didn't sense wind energies. Rather, empty space energies had surrounded him. He probably couldn't escape if he tried. Great earth destruction, the ground cracked. Lin Feng didn't hesitate, and used a powerful attack. Their fists collided, and even though Qing Feng's fist was small and delicate, Lin Feng felt that he had punched waves of water which pushed him back. Wind, empty space, shadow, water, earth, and what else? Lin Feng was amazed. He could use several types of abstruse energies, so he could recognize when other people used several types. Will you show me your energies, or do I have to continue making you use them? Asked Qing Feng. Her cyan clothes and her hair were still fluttering in the wind. Lin Feng had many thoughts. She had taken him there, and she could probably control 10 types of abstruse energies too. But it was strange. Was she relying on a special body type like him? Why did she need him? Do you really want to see? Asked Lin Feng, smiling. His interest was piqued. I want to see all the types of energies you can use, said Qing Feng indifferently. All right. Lin Feng nodded and condensed sword energies in his hands. Wind, thunder, laceration, said Lin Feng. Sword lights which contained both wind and thunder energies then rolled in waves. Desolate Ksana, Nirvana, Suanya, destruction, desolate explosion, Vayu, death. Lin Feng used all his sword attacks. In a short time, he carried out 20 different sword attacks using all sorts of energies. A web of sword energies were left in the air, not dispersing for a while. Lin Feng then used his deadly demon punch, Great Earth Destruction, Earth Punch, and so on. Qing Feng was watching, looking surprised. Lin Feng stopped and smiled at Qing Feng. Is that enough? He was convinced that she hadn't brought him there only for him to show her what he could do. However, at that moment, Qing Feng jumped onto a gigantic stone and closed her eyes. Then she was motionless, her hair was fluttering in the wind. In her brain, she visualized Lin Feng's attacks in slow motion. Lin Feng was surprised. What was Qing Feng doing? She remained like this for a very long time, completely motionless, surrounded by a pure holy qi. I better not offend this animal clan, thought Lin Feng. He was annoyed, but he went to a higher point and gazed into the distance. Bang! Suddenly something happened. Lin Feng turned around and saw terrifying energies. That's Xana strength, is just like my desolate Xana attack. But this one is even more explosive, thought Lin Feng. Qing Feng didn't entirely use the same energies as Lin Feng. She used wind and empty space energies like he had, but changed the others. She's using my energies to practice cultivation. Maybe her special body allows for mimicry? Thought Lin Feng. After a short time, Qing Feng carried out a second attack, which was similar to his Veiyu death attack. She looked delicate and gentle, but her attacks were terrifying. She carried out attacks one after the other without stopping. Her movements were fluid, and she was agile. Bang! A cyan light shot out towards an ancient tree in the distance. The tree exploded and turned to ashes. Lin Feng was stupefied. That was a fusion of his desolate Xana and his great earth destruction. Qing Feng had created a new attack. And not just that, it was perfect. Desolate Xana and great earth destruction fusion. Lin Feng's eyes became pitch black. His celestial book spirit appeared, and he also closed his eyes. He played back the attack in his mind. His desolate Xana attack consisted of Xana strength, and the main types of abstruse energies used for that attack were empty space and wind abstruse energies. His great earth destruction was an explosive attack, since it used speed too. It was also related to Xana strength, which was purely related to speed. Lin Feng reviewed the attack in his head several times. Then he tried different sorts of strength. He also modified the abstruse energies, but nothing worked. Then he tried releasing wind and empty space abstruse energies to surround the great earth destruction attack. Finally, he opened his eyes and gazed into the distance. The explosive and Xana energies didn't disperse for a while. I'll call that one nihility Xana waves. Lin Feng looked excited and happy. He was smiling in a resplendent way. It had been some time since he last understood energy fusions. Lin Feng looked at Qing Feng. She was also looking back at him, but she was surprised. He could also use the attack she had created. Lin Feng moved towards her and landed on the gigantic stone next to her. Qing Feng frowned. She didn't feel comfortable, but seeing Lin Feng's magnificent smile, she felt relaxed. He looked kind-hearted and extremely happy to study cultivation. That kind of honest expression put her at ease. Let's help each other, said Lin Feng, smiling at Qing Feng. He had the feeling that they could become stronger if they helped each other. Qing Feng looked surprised. She had taken Lin Feng there to help her practice cultivation, and she succeeded. But he had also learnt from her. I can make more energies fuse together, and then we can continue learning from each other. It's a win-win relationship, said Lin Feng, smiling. Qing Feng remained silent for a few seconds and finally nodded. She agreed. Chapter 1683. Meeting again. Lin Feng and Qing Feng continued trying different types of energies, studying diligently. Lin Feng was already convinced that Qing Feng also had a special power, which allowed her to study 10 different types of abstruse energies, but he didn't know how. In any case, she was a genius too. That death sword comes from your deadly demon punch, but if you added wind, it'd be even more terrifying. You can try creating a new deadly sword attack like that. Qing Feng and Lin Feng were seated cross-legged on a gigantic stone conversing. Use the abstruse energies you use for your death sword, and make them fuse together with your Veiyu death attack. At the same time, use your Veiyu death abstruse energies, and make them fuse together your death sword. Try combining these bit by bit until it works, said Qing Feng. Lin Feng listened to her carefully, but it was difficult to pay attention to what she was saying, because she was so beautiful. She was even more beautiful than the girls from Moon Imperial Palace. Qing Feng stopped talking after she noticed that Lin Feng was staring at her. She looked surprised and turned her head. "You look too beautiful," said Lin Feng, smiling. She didn't get angry when Lin Feng complimented her. She knew he wasn't a pervert. Besides, they had spent a few days together already, and they had lots in common. "Let's continue studying," said Qing Feng. Lin Feng nodded, and they continued studying. Time passed slowly. In the meantime, back in vast celestial ancient city, many strong cultivators were inspecting the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan's palace, trying to understand how to break the deployment spell. Great emperors, and young geniuses were all talking about the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan. Sometime later, someone wearing a golden fire robe and a helmet walked towards Qing Feng's place. It was a young man. After he arrived at the top of the mountain, he saw Qing Feng and Lin Feng on a stone, talking and sitting close to each other. They almost looked like a couple, which made the young man upset. Boom! A fireball appeared. He had always thought that Qing Feng would be his future wife, especially considering that she had never made friends with men. What was this supposed to mean? "Wu," said Qing Feng, frowning. Then she said coldly, "How come you came to my place without telling me in advance?" "Who is he?" asked Wu, looking at Lin Feng coldly. Lin Feng was thinking that Wu's fire was even more terrifying than Yang Yan's. "Mind your own business," said Qing Feng. "You're my future wife," said Wu firmly. Qing Feng replied, "You're the only one who thinks that way. My grandfather and the lion ancestor will go to your father and ask him for us to marry," said Wu, fixedly staring at Qing Feng. "Humph." Qing Feng groaned coldly and said, "What do you want from me?" The Prince of Sadness and all the outstanding young people from vast celestial ancient city are going to try and break the deployment spells together. We should go and show them that beasts shouldn't be underestimated, explained Wu. Lin Feng was reminded of the great oriental greenfinch rock when he heard Wu. They had the same voice. Lin Feng could guess that this guy was probably an arrogant bird too. "Is Swan coming?" asked Qing Feng. "Swan is already there. We're just waiting for you now," said Wu. Qing Feng nodded and stood up. In vast celestial ancient city, beasts and animals lived together, but they did have prejudices against each other. They just didn't show it. It was a constant competition for each generation. "Lin Feng, come with us," said Qing Feng. Lin Feng nodded. He had nothing to do here if she left. "Are you the one who has a body which allows you to understand 10 different types of abstruse energies?" asked Wu. His eyes were bright and golden, just like two suns. "Is there a problem?" asked Lin Feng indifferently. That guy really looked like the great oriental greenfinch rock. And he was an arrogant bastard who considered everybody and everything beneath his notice. "You better not spend time with Qing Feng again, otherwise you'll have to bear the responsibilities," said Wu while releasing fire energies. Then he turned around and left. Qing Feng and Lin Feng caught up with him, and after a short time, but there was another young man with him. His chi was like the great animal emperor, so he was probably a lion as well. Swan looked at Lin Feng. He didn't look as arrogant or as sharp as Wu, but he seemed aggressive and imposing. The Prince of Sadness was a love maniac who enjoyed breaking women's hearts, but he was also quite strong. He was the descendant of a holy clan, but nobody really knew how strong he was because he never fought anyone, and nobody dared belittle him. The Prince of Sadness was gentle, especially when it came to women, so it wasn't surprising that he didn't have many enemies. He was probably one of the most outstanding young people of his generation. At that moment, the Prince of Sadness was in the House of Sadness, accompanied with several women. All the women were very young, and they all looked incredibly beautiful. There was also a gigantic chessboard in the House Sadness, and it looked like the chessboard from the Celestial Evolution Great Deployment spell. The Prince of Sadness is really skilled and outstanding. Surprisingly, he's even interested in deployment spells. Qin Shang was playing the zither on the side. "You're much more talented than me," said the Prince of Sadness, smiling at Qin Shang. "Stop pretending," said Bai Qi coldly. "I'm not interested in deployment spells. But I'm interested in seeing everyone who comes today, said Yang Yin enthusiastically. The Prince of Sadness is close to the Moon Imperial Palace, and invited them personally, so how could I miss that? I also want to see the outstanding people from vast celestial ancient city. Brother Yang Yin, I feel honored that you came, said the Prince of Sadness, smiling in a gentle way. Sister Tsang Yu, Brother Tsang, Brother Lang Yi, welcome. Song Xiao and Song Yu from the Heaven clan, as well as Lang Yi, had arrived. Prince of Sadness, you're so elegant, you always mention women first in your sentences, said Duga the winner. Lang Yi had a king body, while Song Xiao and Song Yu were both the most outstanding young persons from the Heaven clan. But still, the Prince of Sadness mentioned Song Yu first in his sentence. The Prince of Sadness just smiled. After that, Chu Chun Chiu, the ancient sorcerer, and after a while everyone else arrived. A moon appeared in the sky. 9 celestial creatures appeared and descended from the sky, captivating the crowd. The celestial creatures from the Moon Palace came. What an honor! So beautiful they never change. I missed them, thought Yang Yin. Where had the Moon Imperial Palace found those extremely beautiful women? Yi Runlei glanced around, but she didn't see Lin Feng, which suddenly made her worried. Yang Yin went to her and smiled. I could never forget you. Yi Runlei calmly glanced at him, but she didn't try to turn him on this time. She even looked a bit cold. She just nodded at him indifferently. We should have a glass, Yi Run, said Yang Yin. I'm sorry, said Yi Runlei, refusing. Yang Yin could only remember how sexy she looked back on that day. He really wanted to see her like that again. Chapter 1684. Who can break that deployment spell? You're making me even more interested, said Yang Yin as he stared at her body. He didn't act discreetly either. He just stared at her like a pervert, practically drooling. Good for you, said Yi Runlei indifferently. She didn't mind. This wasn't her first time dealing with someone like him. Even more talented people arrived at the House of Sadness. The Prince of Sadness had invited all the most outstanding young people in vast celestial ancient city, not just those from holy clans, but also those from ancient clans. He also invited some deployment spellcasters. Prince of Sadness, can we try to break the deployment spell whenever we want? Asked a young man wearing fine clothes. Of course, anytime you want, said the Prince of Sadness, smiling. Is it really the Celestial Evolution Great Deployment Spell? Asked someone. 100%. Though it's only a simplified form. We couldn't make the authentic Celestial Evolution Great Deployment Spell, said the Prince of Sadness, smiling. All right, I'll give it a try. Someone rose up in the air and moved towards the deployment spell. Suddenly, lights invaded the palace, and the chessboard started shaking violently. A destructive strength surrounded that person and attacked him. Boom! That person was propelled away, but the chessboard didn't move. The Celestial Evolution Great Deployment Spell contains several types of strength, which keep metamorphosing, it seems. There's no way of breaking it, thought the crowd. Waves of energies were rolling, and that person from before was struggling. He looked like he was in pain, but he smiled and said, Prince of Sadness, that deployment spell is very strange. I can't break it. It's all right, said the Prince of Sadness, smiling before adding, I can't break it either. That person looked skeptical. Was he just trying to give him face? You don't understand deployment spells at all. What you did was entirely useless, said someone else. For people appeared in the distance, and each of their chi was extraordinary. There was a girl among them, and she looked drop-dead gorgeous. That's Qing Feng from the Animal Clan. She's even more beautiful than those celestial girls from the Moon Palace, thought the crowd. Qing Feng and 3 young men arrived. One of the men was surrounded by golden fire energies. He looked both sharp and sly. Lin Feng was there too, but many people had already seen him before. The geniuses of the Animal Clan are here, thought the crowd. Yang Yin slowly rose up in the air and looked at the crow. Yang Yin practiced sun cultivation, and that beast was a sun beast. If Yang Yin could absorb the crow's fire, it would be extremely beneficial for him. However, inside vast celestial ancient city, he couldn't even consider that option with his current strength. Even if he was stronger, he still wouldn't dare. Their clan was enigmatic and unfathomable. The crow glanced at Yang Yen and said coldly, "You dare look at me because you also study sun cultivation? How insolent." Wuxia's son instantly started moving towards Yang Yen. Yang Yen suddenly raised his hands and several suns appeared. Explosions sounded as they collided, but there were still 2 suns in front of him. "Piss off, piss off!" The 2 suns continued moving forwards, making Yang Yen ran away. The crow looked at him and said, "You must blame yourself for your ignorance. You dared look at me. You can't compete with me," said the golden crow. Then he glanced at the deployment spell and then at Qing Feng. Could Qing Feng break it? He wanted everyone to know that they were the strongest, because they were animals. Yang Yen looked at Lin Feng coldly and asked, "Since when are you with the animal clan?" Lin Feng glanced at him indifferently. Yang Yen had just been humiliated, and now he wanted to vent his anger. "Pieces of trash always talk shit," said Lin Feng, smiling. Yang Yen frowned. Lin Feng didn't even glance at him. Lang Yi glanced at Lin Feng. He wanted to tell him that his wife had disappeared. However, he didn't say anything right now. There'd be a better time later. "I'll go and try," said Dugu the winner, walking towards the deployment spell. He then started releasing dazzling energies which intertwined with each other. "If you don't move, the pieces won't move either, it seems," thought the crowd. Dugu the winner made 2 steps, and suddenly, a terrifying strength attacked his imprints. The first guy who tried kept running on the chessboard, so the situation became chaotic. "With each step Dugu the winner makes, the chessboard changes," said a strong cultivator who knew about deployment spells. Finally, after having tried a myriad of times, Dugu the winner gave up. After that, many other people tried and failed. However, the deployment spell was wearing down each time. If some deployment spellcasters go in and control the energies, maybe they can try to control the entire deployment spell, said an emperor who was standing next to Yang Yen. "Hehe, you must understand deployment spells. I'm thinking the same thing as you," said another person. Prince of Sadness smiled indifferently and said, "Anyone can try and break it." "Qing Feng," said Wu. He was wondering if she had noticed anything. Qing Feng was captivated. That deployment spell was too mysterious. She couldn't understand it at all. She turned to Lin Feng, whose eyes were slightly closed. She was surprised. She had spent some time with Lin Feng, and she could tell that he was thinking about something. Did he understand deployment spells? Chapter 1685. Killing an Emperor. The everlasting celestial emperor's most powerful deployment spells were evolution deployment spells, and the celestial evolution great deployment spell was precisely an evolution deployment spell. The memories Lin Feng had obtained from the everlasting celestial emperor contained pieces of information concerning vast celestial ancient city, so maybe they had something to do with the celestial evolution holy clan. At that moment, Lin Feng was visualizing a gigantic chessboard. He could see each piece distinctly. Since that chessboard deployment spell couldn't be destroyed by brute force, it meant that there was a special method to do it. The caster had definitely carved it so that someone could destroy it. "Lang Yi, don't you want to try the chessboard?" Lin Feng asked. Lang Yi looked at Lin Feng in a strange way, but he still nodded. He started walking on the chessboard, and each time he stepped on it, a strength emerged. The strength was more and more mysterious as he moved further along. Even Lang Yi, who controlled world strength, quickly had to jump off it. "What do you think?" asked Lang Yi. "It can't be broken with just one person," said Lin Feng. Everybody suddenly looked at him. "Maybe we should try 4 people, including a deployment spellcaster. Each of them should get onto the board from 4 different sides," said Lin Feng. "You must have noticed that each time someone tries, the deployment spell strength becomes increasingly mysterious as people move further along. So I'm thinking that if 4 people go for it, the pieces will stop moving, and if all 4 of those people manage to get to the center, the deployment spell would be broken. They could use the smaller deployment spells to try and study it, but the Celestial Evolution Great Deployment Spell would be much more complicated to break. Nobody wanted to try it because they could die. Besides, People didn't know how similar that small one and the real one were. "Arrogant little boy," said one of the deployment spell masters from the Holy Clan, glancing at Lin Feng in a cold way. The deployment spell masters hadn't found a way to break the deployment spell, and Lin Feng dared say he had an idea. How arrogant could he be? That deployment spell is based on the Celestial Evolution Great Deployment spell. So if you think it's so easy, then try it yourself, said another strong cultivator. He had remained discreet, and had tried not to say anything ridiculous until now. But Lin Feng had dared tell them what to do, so he couldn't hold himself back any longer. "Would you dare go on to the Celestial Evolution Great Deployment spell?" asked Lin Feng to the strong cultivator in a cold way. Breaking the deployment spell is not as easy as you think," the same guy said again. "You know nothing. How old are you, baby boy? Do you want to teach elders?" said the deployment spell caster from the Holy Sun clan mockingly. Yang Yin laughed and said, "That guy is very ignorant indeed." Lin Feng glanced at them, and then he immediately jumped onto the chessboard. Deployment spells aren't about age. Even strength has nothing to do with age. "You're both emperors, but you are ignorant, shameless, and ridiculous," said Lin Feng, standing on the chessboard. "In any case, you just have to observe and try. Then you'll see if I'm wrong or right. So why the need to humiliate me? Ridiculous boy. Arrogant." Those emperors were furious. Surprisingly, that little boy was saying that he knew more than them. "Go. If you have the opportunity, kill him," said Yang Yin to the emperor next to him. Lin Feng was acting recklessly, so if they could kill him with the deployment spell, that'd be for the best. "All right," said that strong cultivator, nodding. Then, he jumped onto the chessboard as well. As expected, when he landed on the chessboard, there was no light. Boom! The strong cultivator from the Holy Sun clan stepped on the chessboard, and as he did, holy marks started twinkling. It seemed that the strength from the strong cultivator modified the holy marks, causing an explosive strength to move towards Lin Feng. As expected, when someone who knows deployment spells steps on the chessboard, it's a different story. They can borrow the strength for themselves, thought the crowd. Lin Feng made 2 steps, then dazzling lights illuminated the board. Lin Feng made another step. An explosion sounded. Lin Feng had blocked the opponent's attack. He surprisingly remembered all the pieces, thought Qing Feng. She had also memorized the chessboard, so she knew that someone who didn't know how to cast deployment spells couldn't do such a thing. His opponent groaned coldly. He made a few more steps. Then holy marks started twinkling and shaking violently. They contained all sorts of strength as they moved towards Lin Feng. Boom! Lin Feng jumped. The holy marks were intertwining as he used the power of the chess pieces again to block the attack. "He wants to kill me," thought Lin Feng. The enemy was trying to use deployment spells to kill him. "You only know some abstruse energies, and yet you still dare act so arrogantly," said that emperor. He released fire energies and took a few steps. Lin Feng was slowly understanding the mysteries of the chessboard, making him wonder who had made it. He looked at the intertwining holy marks. Then he made 3 steps leftwards, 2 steps backwards and 1 step rightwards. The crowd didn't notice how subtle his deployment spell was. They only saw a terrifying strength emerge. "Die!" shouted Lin Feng furiously. He started running forwards at full speed. People couldn't see him clearly, because his agility technique was too fast. However, as he started running, he realized that some terrifying energies were approaching him on his left. His facial expression suddenly changed. He didn't have time to react to deployment spells anymore. A terrifying fire suddenly exploded. That person's cosmic energies turned into fireballs and exploded. Luckily, that deployment spell weakened the cosmic energies, so he didn't manage to kill Lin Feng. After that, he started running towards Lin Feng, deciding to use pure strength to attack him. "Bastard," said Qing Feng furiously. But she didn't move. She knew that a low-level emperor couldn't kill Lin Feng that easily. Lang Yi groaned coldly. That emperor was useless. He was attacking Lin Feng openly now. Lin Feng moved back like the wind, closing his eyes. He could clearly see the entire chessboard in his head. Lin Feng suddenly stopped moving backwards and started running forwards again. Each of his steps made the marks twinkle and intertwine, causing the lights around the Holy Sun Clan's cultivator stop. Lin Feng started attacking the opponent unceasingly. The crowd couldn't see much because of the dazzling lights, but Lin Feng looked like a madman at that moment. He kept running in circles while releasing energies. He was extremely fast, and yet, it seemed like he was in perfect control of the situation. A gigantic sun appeared as the emperor rose up in the air. However, while he was rising into the air, Lin Feng suddenly opened his eyes and punched the air in his direction. Bang! The crowd saw the emperor's head explode. Their hearts started pounding violently, as if they had just realized what was going on. Then, the remnant fire energies began dispersing. Wait and listen to me. I'll tell you how to make the steps, and at the same time, you can block the attacks, said Yi Renlei to the group. Lin Feng raised his head, and Qing Feng lowered her head. I'll guide. All right, said Lin Feng, nodding. 3 steps leftwards, said Qing Feng. Lin Feng then made 3 steps leftwards, causing lights to move across and throughout the chessboard. 2 steps forwards. 1 rightward. 3 backwards. The 3 others moved at the same time. Dazzling lights filled the board. But surprisingly, the chessboard started cracking. Lin Feng was right. They needed 4 people to break it. 1 forward, said Qing Feng. The 3 other groups listened to her and moved at the same time. Intertwining lights moved towards Lin Feng and the other men, but they all blocked them. Another piece broke, but they made a mistake, thought the crowd. Wrong step. Qing Feng realized her mistake and made everybody move back a step. After that, they continued moving. The 8 people were getting closer and closer to each other as they made their way to the center. If the Celestial Evolution Great Deployment spell was like that one, would they be able to break it too? Time passed slowly, and the groups were getting closer and closer to the center. They made many steps backwards, forwards, sideways. They tried everything. Qing Feng shouldn't understand deployment spells as well as me, thought Lin Feng. He didn't understand how the girls understood deployment spells so well. And what about Yi Renlei? Were they that strong, or had someone taught them? Finally they stopped, and the lights disappeared as the deployment spell broke apart. It really broke, thought the crowd. Bzzz. Suddenly, a silhouette rose up in the air and left. Working with such beautiful women is an honor, but I have some things to do. See you, said Duga the winner. Then he left. Song Xiao also left quickly. They're leaving. Everyone knew that they were going back to their clans to inform them. Could that small deployment spell be related to the Celestial Evolution Great Deployment spell? Thought Lin Feng. Yang Yin didn't leave because the Holy Sun Clan wasn't located in vast celestial ancient city. Run, celestial being, we were made for each other, said Yang Yin as he smiled at her. Don't offend the Moon Imperial Palace, said Yi Renlei to Lin Feng using telepathy. Why was she telling him that? Let's go to the Celestial Evolution Holy Clan, said Wu. Everybody wanted to break the Celestial Evolution Great Deployment spell now. People rose into the air and left, one after the other. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.